think we're here.
We're going.
We're doing it.
Sweet.
Julia,
Hello.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ben.
It's a couple days ago, I was looking at a Facebook message thread that we had, and it went back to June 2012.
Nice.
About 9 years.
That's so sick.
And it was, I think it was me asking you, like, if you ever want to play a show, I think it was around DZ Fest, the first one. You're like, we're playing the big show.
Yeah.
So, like, we can't play that day. But yeah, 9 years of, like, doing things together, seeing Ratboys grow and blossom has been one of my favorite things to witness. To witness any bands I've ever seen, friends with, acquaintances, colleagues, seeing them manifest their own art. I love it.
Thank you.
It's so cool to see.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, playing DZ Fest, I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 times. The times that we got to play here were like fundamental for me.
Really?
Like just extremely positive experiences, not only getting to play, but just getting to like see so many bands and make friends and like, I don't know, be in an environment where it's not about like money or posturing or like, you know, it's just very not pretentious and wholesome, and it was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it goes both ways. It doesn't grow without the bands and the artists, you know. It's something I always remind myself to humble myself, and something I remind others when they say like, "Oh, Ben, great job on this," or "You did so much with Easy Fest." It's like, yeah, but
it's a group effort.
It's the bands and the volunteers and the attendees and the neighbors. It goes beyond that, and I know you know that because that's like the meshing of different worlds. Like you were, you know, south suburbs, you had like the big show, and it was a whole different scene, and there was a meshing of different scenes coming together, and a lot of them are still active, and it's so cool to see a lot of people that you came up with, a lot of your friends still making music and doing things, all so talented. Like I absolutely love like Special Death, you know, and Namdi's been doing wonderful things, and it's so cool to see. Like
totally.
I get like the opposite of jealous. I'm just like, man, how awesome is that?
Just
like
stoked.
yeah, it's amazing. I love it all, and on any scale, there's, you know, without measuring it, it's just really cool to see. And I always appreciate you coming back in any way, shape, or form to perform here.
Oh, same.
They're fun.
Oh, we love it. I mean, you have a really special place here, so it'll always mean a lot to us to get to come back here. So
thank you.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. How you were just talking about just being almost like proud of the progress that like our friends have made and stuff. You know, it's like just really special to me. Not like you said, not in any real measurable way. It's more so important to me to just celebrate the fact that like our friends, you, me, whoever, are like able to keep doing what we love. That's like the main thing. If we can keep going for, you know, as long as we want to, and like be in control of our own creative destinies, that's like all that you can ask for, really. So
yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. I don't know. Same thing with artists, people who just making work, painters, drawers, anybody, because we collaborate with a lot of them. You know, your artwork from whether it's a friend or someone you appreciate online, you reach out to them, a poster, all of that. It's pretty cool. It's a wonderful scene. It's kind of hard to explain to anybody who's like away from it. They're like, well, when are you gonna like get a real job or this and that?
Yeah,
like, you don't understand.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, I was with my cousin, like some family members of mine recently, which is a foreign experience for the last year because finally got my shots so I can like see family comfortably again. But anyway, they were asking me like about a bunch of my, like, they were like, who do you keep up with from high school? Like, are a lot of your college friends in Chicago, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I mean, I have very few close friends from high school still, and they're all over the place. Like, we're all very spread out, and like my college friends, kind of the same thing. Like, everyone's in a different place. But like, I'm trying to tell them, like, my social life in Chicago, COVID notwithstanding, is like really great. Like, my friend, like, you know, almost everyone who I'm very close with now in some way is like because of art or like music, like you said, visual art, whatever. Like, it's kind of different than like your typical journey of making your friends in high school and in college. And like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I did that and I like cherish those friendships, but it's also very special to just have this like social web that's very supportive, and like everyone's just doing and making awesome things all the time. Like, so it is hard to explain to my family is what I'm trying to get at, is like I couldn't really emphasize how fucking awesome that is to them without sounding like, I don't know, it's just hard to
articulate
get
it.
through. Yeah.
It is. It is a huge web. And
Yeah.
you have a big web because you've been around the country and the world.
Yeah,
So
God.
it spreads even further when you start meeting people from different countries, different
So
parts of
cool.
America. You realize how similar humans really are.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like you've toured Asia at all?
Japan once.
Japan?
Yeah, that was probably the coolest, like the highlight of my life. I didn't ever think we would have the chance to do that. So
It's so beautiful.
But you're exactly right. Like it was crazy. We played with a band over there called Lucy 2, who's really fucking good. You should check them out. But they like were so great. And after the show, we couldn't really communicate that much because of the language barrier. But like their music kind of stuck out to me, and I was trying to show them this band Now, who like I'm a big fan, and they were like. They basically told me, like, we're named after that band. Like, we named ourselves after one of their song titles, Now song titles. I didn't even realize that. I don't really know the song titles. I just listen, like, in the car and stuff. But it blew my mind. Like, the world is so small. Like, people, you know, are into the same bands all over the world. And you can, like, really communicate, you know, even with a language barrier. Like, so much in common that we didn't even know.
Yeah. The internet
insane.
is wonderful for that.
Totally.
Like it has its negative problems,
Oh, yeah.
but when you use that tool properly, it's amazing. Like
100%.
reaching out to people, just throwing an email out there just because you found someone online and they can respond, and you can just all of a sudden like, oh, when you're on tour from England, like stop here for a session, and it just happens and it works. And same thing with you, like booking stuff around the country, going beyond that. It's just reaching out to people, making those connections. And yeah, you start to realize everyone just wants the same thing. They want to express themselves. If you're an artist, you just want to express yourself, make enough to get by, to keep doing it, have camaraderie, share those experiences, you know, have that eye to collaborate with somebody, you know, have a mutual understanding. Like maybe you ask them to make artwork for something for you, like a album cover, and then in return, like that's for their portfolio and they can get more gigs and more jobs with that. It's just really amazing to see it grow like that. And so you did Japan. When was that?
That was in 2018. October. Yeah.
Yeah. The last year's been brutal.
It's been long. I was pretty naive, as a lot of us were, I think, at the beginning of 2020. I just, did not think that this disease would, like, come to America, which is, like you just mentioned, insane when you think about how, like, interconnected the world is nowadays. But then I didn't think it would last as long as it has. And so, yeah, it's been kind of a like slow shock to just continue to like grapple with it. But the thing is, like, everyone's doing it together, and there's some sort of light at the end of the tunnel now.
There is.
Like you and I are right now, like
we
no
both
masks.
got vaccinated. We're here.
Yeah.
Talking.
On the way over, I was like, fuck, should I have brought my own mic? You know? But then I was like, I got my shots.
Yeah.
Like, and I think we all do. So it's just, we can kind of let our guard down a little bit.
It's weird. There's some damage going on.
Totally. We have to like unlearn all of this like real anxiety.
Right. Like normally when you showed up, I would have gave you a hug.
Right.
And we didn't even touch each other.
Yeah, sure.
Which, you know, just something that simple.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, totally.
But like I didn't think about it because I'm so used to not doing it. When I meet somebody now, I don't touch them.
I know.
And I used to be like, oh, shake a hand, a hug, normal things when you know somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and it's...
I wonder if the elbow bump's like here to stay, you know?
I think it is when you don't know somebody.
Yeah, sure.
But if you know someone's vaccinated, like...
Yeah.
It's been nice when I know someone's fully vaccinated and I give them a hug. It's been like, wow, I haven't felt that in a long time.
Totally.
Only with my roommates because we've just been amongst each other. But yeah, it's been a very heavy experience for a lot of people, specifically anybody in the arts and the music scene, the industry. I'm happy that I saw all the new events and festivals you're playing in the fall, which is super
fingers
cool.
crossed. God,
I know, right?
I hope it all works out, but
it seems to be pretty promising.
Especially outside stuff like that feels like it could reasonably happen.
Yeah, 4 months away.
Yeah.
Outside, I never would have thought 4 months ago that like a third of the country would have at least one shot, you know? And the numbers are huge. Everybody in my circle, everyone I know is vaccinated or has a shot and is getting the next one. Like,
right.
We're getting there really well. And
totally.
Like, it's been really cool to see that change and to see, like, I just bought Crumb tickets today.
Nice.
I love that band. Their new record's so good.
Oh, yeah.
But,
they were actually on the radio on the way over here.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, my God, they're so good. Mm-hmm. I love everything they've done. But, yeah, I'm like, man, I just bought, and Adrian Linker from Big Thief.
Nice.
I just bought both tickets for November at Thalia and the Metro, and I'm like, I just bought tickets for a concert.
Yeah.
I haven't done this.
I did that recently, too. I got tickets to see Bully at the Empty Bottle.
Okay.
That's pretty soon, actually. That's in August, like August 28th, which I'm bummed is the same night as the Nnamdi Slater-Kinney Wilco show.
Yeah, I
in
just saw
Millennium Park,
that. Oh, my God.
which I really want to go to. I'll get a ticket. I don't care what I got to do to get into that show, but it's the same night as this Bully show, and I really do want to go to that.
Yeah, I do both.
So, I know. I don't know what to do.
Well,
I'm a
Nnamdi's
pickle.
probably opening, so go there and then run
Fair
over
enough.
to the
You're
Empty
right.
Bottle.
Shoot. Yeah, I'm gonna have to strategize. This is like a new again experience as well, having to like multiple shows.
Which I'm sure you've done before. I know I have.
Yeah.
I've done like, this show's at 8 and that one's at 11.
yeah,
Totally.
totally.
That's so amazing that's happening
I
for
know.
him, for Wilco, because like I
Oh my
love that band.
Yeah.
Known him forever. And Nnamdi, who I've known forever, and you have really intimately, and it's just like,
Yeah,
wow. I'm
I'm
so cool.
So stoked. That is like
Amazing.
mind blowing, and I honestly think it's hopefully going to introduce his music to a lot of new people, and he'll be able to just keep expanding because it's been. I don't think people realize, or not a lot of people realize, like how long he has been like making amazing music.
Multiple projects for like over a decade.
Insane.
It's insane.
It never fails to amaze me. So I'm
No,
ready.
he's
ready for the
special.
Nnamdi revolution to take over.
It's one of my favorite things to do, actually, is to show my family when I go to visit them and we're listening to music, to just show them the bands on
Oh, yeah.
the scene.
Hell yeah.
I put your record on, I put his, I put Special Death on, I put my friends' records on, and I just do that all the time. They're like, who is this? They always like it because you realize that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's not top 40 or not. Do you
For
like
sure.
it or do you not? And it's just been really fun to always share that when I meet new people. I have your vinyls, I put those on, I share it with people, and it's like, it's just crazy. Like today, your happy birthday Ratboys
Yeah.
came in, and Trevor's came in too, and like
Sick.
he found out about them because of mixing you here. It's really cool. It's just all spread. It's been really fun to see, and I don't know. I love it. I try to get vinyl and CDs or records. Well, CDs are kind of not so common anymore.
I love them. I hate that CDs are falling out of style.
I hate it, but it's also like I get it.
I get it,
I
but
get
I
it.
love them.
It's because we're from that era.
I love it all, though. I love CDs. I love tapes. I love records.
Tapes.
So I really appreciate you getting a record and
course.
sharing it with your family. That's really kind of you.
No, I share it with everyone I know, and anytime I can, and people around the country, like bands that come through, they bring the
Yes.
bands from their scene.
Yeah.
And I show them bands that I know. Like, check this out. I'll make playlists. You're on them. I send it.
So sick. I love that.
And that's the beauty of things like Spotify, iTunes,
Mm-hmm.
Google, is like you can make these playlists. And like I'm a records person. I want to listen to the whole record.
Yeah.
But I also am a fan of like discovering records based on the playlist that was given to me. If I hear
Totally.
a song, that's a cool song, let me find the record, and then you go down that discography rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
which like your discography's been it's so vast now.
Yeah.
Like-
we've been chipping away. It's been fun.
You started in, was it 2009 officially?
Well, that's
Eight?
we kind of like trolled people with that. That was a mistake. We put out Dave and I put out our first music in 2011.
Right.
But we did a cover of an Easter song, and we like labeled it on Bandcamp as coming out in 2009 as like an homage to him because that was the original date it came out on MySpace.
Yeah. Oh, MySpace.
Yeah, so that was like just us like being stupid and like being silly. So no, Dave and I met in 2010.
Okay.
So I was writing music by myself in like 2008, 2009. But yeah, we didn't put out our first music like after having collaborated until 2011.
Hence the 10-year.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That
Makes
was
all
like
sense.
the beginning of the project.
Was that, you graduated high school in,
2010.
okay, so born in 92, I'm assuming.
Yep, that's right.
Math.
Indeed.
And you went to Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, yep. That's where Dave and I met. Wearing my ND shirt today, accidentally. Yeah, that was always kind of like my life's dream to go there.
Why is that?
My dad went there. I just have a bunch of family members who went there.
Legacy type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're from Louisville, right?
Yes.
How's it pronounced properly?
Louisville.
Louisville.
Yep. It doesn't matter.
I know. That's one of the cities in this country I always go, how do you actually say it?
Oh yeah, it's so messed up. Doesn't make any sense.
No.
It's phonetically a disaster. But yeah, it's a nice place to be though. I get back there every so often. But both of my parents are actually from Dayton, Ohio. And so my whole family is kind of like more Midwestern. So I didn't really have any other family in Louisville. Like, we don't really have deep roots there. But it was a nice place to grow up. And
Were you in a music scene there at all in high school? No.
I wish.
Did they have one then?
I think they did. I just didn't know about it. Like, I went
too young, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. I wasn't, like, sheltered, like, deliberately. Like, my parents definitely didn't say, like, you can't go there, you can't do this. I just didn't know about it. And this was, like, again, before the internet, really. Like, we had internet on our home computer, but, like, there was no social media. Like, I had a Facebook, but, like, there weren't, like, I don't know. It was different.
It wasn't the same way it is now.
Yeah, it was super different. So, like, I wasn't even trying to go to shows. I didn't know shows were happening. I just didn't know. So, like, I would just stay home and play, like, acoustic guitar alone and just, like, surf iTunes and, like, look for, like, albums that I liked and stuff. But, yeah, I was pretty, like, solitary growing up in that way. I had friends and stuff, but it was, like, you know.
I had a friend, no.
I wasn't, like, completely alone, but.
When did guitar come into your life?
I was 13, I think. I, like, had taken piano lessons, as many children do, from, like, when I was 5 or 6 to 13. And I didn't really like it, which I regret now. Like, I decided to quit. My parents said I could quit when I started high school, and I just didn't enjoy, like, practicing, and I don't know. I wasn't about it, but I liked music a lot. And, like, I've always liked singing and things like that, so my mom had a guitar, like an acoustic guitar, because she's musical and, like, would play when she was younger. And so she kind of, like, I expressed that I would like to, you know, learn a little bit, and she taught me a couple chords. And then a close friend from grade school and then high school, my friend Mary, like, knew some chords on guitar. And her older sister actually is a very talented jazz guitarist. So she, like, her older sister gave us a bunch of CDs and things, and that was kind of, like, how I got started. And, like, YouTube was, like, barely a thing.
Yeah.
In 2006. But,
yeah,
like,
it just started in, like, 2005.
Oh, my God. Early YouTube was, like, amazing. There were no ads. Like, it was, like, so.
Yeah. It was raw.
It was awesome. And, like, I found so many awesome, like, tutorials, and, like, it was very low-key and, like, just very grassroots feeling. Like, that was accessible to me. So that was, kind of just went from there.
So there was a lot of music around.
Yeah, kind of.
For you, like, in your family, and that's cool.
With my mom, for sure. My dad is not musical at all, and his family is not at all. And so that is kind of like a divide.
Yeah.
But my mom, on the other hand, is quite musical, and her mom is too.
And what about singing? Did that come naturally? Did you feel it out? Were you doing that since you were young?
Yeah, I have, like, really vivid memories of, like, I was obsessed with the Olsen twins, like Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Yeah.
And so I had, like, so many of their VHS tapes, and I would, like, sing along with them, because there were always songs in those. Just, like, singing along to the radio, things like that.
I used to watch those movies, too.
Oh, my God.
VHS. What's the one where they go to Transylvania? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they have, like, they're like detectives.
Oh, yeah. That was, like, a series, yeah. When they were, like, investigating crimes.
Yeah.
Very strange. These,
yeah.
Like, little girls. I loved those. The main ones, I remember there was one where they went to, like, an aquarium. That was very strange. There's one where they went to, like, a carnival funhouse. Very, very
They were
scary.
really weird. Very mid-90s stuff.
Yeah, just, like, super wacky. But, like, they had all these videos too where they would throw parties, like different themed parties, and there were always crazy songs in those. And so I was, like, deeply obsessed with them. And my grandma, one day I remember, was like, you're like, she was like encouraging me. She's like, you're just as good as them. Like, you might even be better at singing than them. And I was like, Grandma, like, don't besmirch Mary-Kate and Ashley like that. Like,
I'm not on your level.
I could never be up to par with the Olsen twins.
I think you're probably a better singer than me.
It's sad to say, but looking back now, I'm like, oh, they couldn't really sing.
No.
But we could do a whole podcast about the Olsen twins because I still think about them a lot. I hope they're okay, and I hope that they are like at peace with the world now. Because I feel like they were exploited like hardcore.
Oh my
looking
God,
back.
yes. Most childhood actors.
Yeah.
It's kind of wrong. It's kind of
it's
form of abuse.
fucked up. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know why parents would ever let that happen.
Yeah, and I think that's why they've kind of like
Detached.
retreated from society because they made so much money, but also
Yeah.
like they are probably scarred from the experiences. And I don't even want to know. I'm sure we'll never know the shit that they
No,
went
because
through.
they were born in the late 80s, so it's a different.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Full House was like a dark set to be on, and
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever fully know
No.
what that was like. But
There'll be a Netflix documentary eventually.
maybe someday, dude, I will watch.
Number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you've always kind of just sang here and there. You started playing guitar on 13, and you go to. Were you writing songs in high school at all, or were you just kind of playing?
Yeah, a little bit. I remember, like, I joined choir freshman year of high school. Very into that. And yeah, like I did like vacation Bible school, like counseling, like just being, I didn't do anything. I was just keeping those children like alive, for every day. But
VBS.
yeah,
I loved it.
Indeed. Yeah, it was chill. I mean, I didn't really have, like I said, like many responsibilities. I was 14 years old. So
Yeah.
but I would bring my guitar and like try to write little songs to like keep these kids entertained.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the start of it. And like, I would write songs to like make my friends laugh, like about, our silly relationships drama,
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the first songs I ever wrote were like just purely like kind of not functional, but just like, for my life at the time. I wasn't really trying to make an artistic statement. It was more so just like relating to those around me. But eventually I got moody and, became a teen, and I like started getting artsy about it.
Started crying.
Yeah.
Writing songs about that.
Indeed, writing about like pain and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, but it took a little bit to get into that mode. But
And then you went to Notre Dame. Is that when you kind of started getting into like a music scene there? I mean,
Yeah.
It's a big school.
well, yeah, it wasn't even really there. Like I met Dave like immediately, which is like the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me. Because most people, when they go to college, struggle to make friends right away. And I truly just got so lucky that like we just collided immediately.
Was it like class? Was it an orientation?
We had interacted on the internet in the months leading up to when we started college. I like spotted him in a Facebook group that existed for like incoming freshmen, and he was like playing bass in his profile picture, and I was like, oh my God, like who is this interesting person? And so I like friend requested him, and he messaged me saying like, I'll hit you up when we get to school. And I totally forgot about it, but he like got my number somehow from a girl in my dorm, I think. And
The old school way.
yeah, I don't know. Like he just texted me out of the blue. I didn't even know it was like an unknown number. But I was like, sure, let's get together. And yeah, like the second day of freshman orientation, he like came over to my dorm, and we just like hung out in a big group with like a bunch of other people. But yeah, and like we realized immediately like that we liked a lot of the same bands, but also I realized immediately that like he was in this whole music, like he had a whole group of friends back home who played music together and like had bands and stuff, and that was so foreign to me, but I was like so into that, idea. And so I kind of, we kind of latched onto each other, and then I was very eager to like meet his friends from back home and stuff. So
Where is he from?
he's from Oak Forest.
Right.
Yeah, so south suburbs.
And that's, okay, now it all makes sense.
Exactly. So yeah, the big show, which maybe will come up. Maybe we'll talk about that. But like
Yeah.
he had the first one of those, which there were 3. The first one was in 2010, right before we met, before Dave and I met. So when we first started kind of becoming friends, he like he showed me pictures of that and like videos from that show, and I was just like blown, like mind blown. I just couldn't believe that something like this existed, and like someone I knew now like had access to this kind of space, and I was like obsessed with it. And so eventually when we started like working on songs together, and then when we put them out just on a whim, like when we got invited to play the next big show, that was like a massive honor to me. I was like just so excited to like meet a lot of these people. So that was definitely my first music scene experience. And at Notre Dame, we didn't really know many people right away, other people who played music. Eventually we met a few people, and there were some bands. But yeah, the South Suburbs was kind of like the first music scene I was ever introduced to, and I was like addicted to it.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I remember seeing photos from that, seeing you actually perform. It was like outside under a tent.
That was in 2012. Yep.
Yeah,
that was
I
the
remember
third
that
big show.
because
Yep.
I remember that when that happened. It was the same day as the first Easy Fest.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, and I was so bummed because I wanted to go to it, and I couldn't go because I was like doing this, and I was like, darn. Yeah.
To be honest, like the one in 2011 was the best one.
Yeah.
The one in 2012 was cool too, but like
It was really hot that summer.
it was.
And I remember, like, I was looking at the zine earlier, and I was
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
recognize all these photos, like everyone drenched in sweat.
Oh my god.
Because
Yeah.
that was the heat wave summer we had here, where it didn't like
Crazy.
rain in June, and it was like 90 every
Oh,
day. Because it was extremely hot for DZ Fest. It was brutal. And I remember when that happened, I was like, I wanted to go, and I couldn't because of DZ Fest. And I just remember being so hot and seeing those photos posted on Facebook. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it looks like so much fun. Maybe I'll go next year. Then it didn't happen. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe someday. It's a bygone era, I
Yeah.
suppose. But yeah, it was a strange time. Like my brother was in town for that one. There were just like a lot of different people kind of like swirling around me. And that was also a period of time where like Dave and I are like the other side of our relationship, like the romantic side of our relationship was like extremely strained. So that's like really the only period of time that we've had like really rocky stretch. And so yeah, that big show actually was extremely stressful for me.
2012 one.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so you didn't miss out on too much. I mean, the bands were fucking awesome.
Yeah, the paramedics played.
Oh, yeah. Oshwa played that one.
Oshwa, yeah. Wow.
I actually just saw Alicia yesterday.
Really?
For the first time in, I mean, obviously a really long time.
She's
but-
great. So talented.
Yeah, she's just like back in town visiting because she lives in New York now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many great bands played that day. But I remember like they had the outside stage, which was quieter, and like the inside stage for the loud bands. And we really wanted to play inside. We like wanted to like try to be louder. And they like Mikey and them were pretty insistent on us like playing outside. And we were fine with it. But I remember that was like kind of the beginning of me like pushing back, like wanting to like
Be a band.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. But at the time, I mean, it wasn't going to happen. Like I was still playing acoustic guitar, and
Right. You always played acoustic. You
Yeah.
had a gentle,
Yeah.
voice.
definitely.
Mikey's
I'm-
so funny.
I know.
I love Mikey.
Oh, Mikey's the best.
He's the best. He has the best ideas for me for DZ Fest. He's always sending me like crazy, like big arrow signs for like restaurants.
Whoa.
He's like, you should put like it's only $100 on Craigslist or something. Like it's just like just funny stuff. He's always just doing that. I love it. I'm like, Mikey, keep sending.
Yeah,
I love
keep
it.
it coming. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a true freak. I really will always just appreciate like how much effort he put into organizing those shows, because it was like a lot of work. And,
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, like
It's a lot.
pulling off something like that is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But very grateful for it because it definitely shaped my outlook on music
Yeah.
as like a positive thing rooted in like
It affects your life forever. Those
Totally.
types of things, it's a weird thing. You can't monetize that experience
Yeah.
and the work that goes into it, but what it does for a scene and how it propagates like everyone's lives and careers, and it's priceless,
oh yeah.
So I'm always forever grateful for anybody who does that. Those scenes, seeing like a lot of the bands that played that grow into
Yeah.
other things, it's so cool to see. And just
Yeah.
like Sean, single player and everything, it's just
Oh yeah.
it's really cool. Yeah.
that was like my first experience meeting Sean. It wasn't at the big show, but it was a show very like around the same time. Like it was at Kyle's house, like Kyle from Easter and Special Death.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never would have known, like just meeting each other then, that we would become so close and like get to play music together for a long time. But yeah, just there were so many special people, and I don't know, it was very lucky. Like all these people were in the same place at the same time and wanted to do the same things. So it was really
surreal.
I hesitate to say magical. Yeah, it was surreal's the right word. Looking back, because yeah, it could have very easily just. I could have chosen to go to a different school, or Dave could have, or never would have seen him on Facebook that day. You know, all these things where I just feel lucky that, like, I somehow ended up meeting these people.
Well, it's a product of, saying yes, opening up your mind, trying new things. You could have been like, whose number is this? It ignored that, or like, that's weird. How do you get my number? And then, bam, your whole life
is fucked. Yeah. At the beginning of college especially, I was not in the position to be like turning down friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like stoked to meet anyone I could. But that time was crazy. I actually like looking back now, because I'm almost 29, which isn't that old, but when I think back to being like 18, 19, I feel like my brain was literally like absorbing so much new information all the time. I like looking back now, I'm just like, whoa, my brain was like literally like not growing, but like my like mind was expanding.
But it is though, right?
Yeah, like so fast.
Like physically, you stop developing by
25 or something.
right?
Yeah, so like looking back, I'm like, whoa, I was seriously like still on like a path. Like I still am on a path, but back then it was just like so intense and so rapid and like all these new things. You like feel it so much when you like discover something back then, and I miss it. But
it's so new. Now when things are new, you're like, it's almost like you expect it. Like, yeah, that makes sense. I did X, Y, and Z.
Totally.
Now that door that opened up makes perfect sense. But when you're 20, or in your case, you were, 21 and someone's like, or 19, someone's like, you want to play this big show?
Yeah.
Literally big show. And you're like, yeah, like, wow. But now if someone's like, you want to play a show? You're like, obviously, I've been in a band for 10 years.
yeah, totally.
Of course I want to play the show.
Yeah. Even like hearing new music now, it's like I'm like, oh, it kind of sounds like this. Or like, oh, I wonder how they got that guitar to, like, I'm just like critically listening to it more, which I like a lot. But I miss the kind of like general wonder and like expansiveness of like not knowing about so much music.
Are you ever able to switch that off with how much experience you have now? To kind of just listen as a lover of music?
Yeah, I've been listening a lot. Like, well, I just started getting into the radio again. I haven't really been driving, like, anywhere because of COVID, but just even in the last, like, week, I've just been running errands and stuff and kind of forgot that college radio exists and, like, started listening to it again. And, like, hearing all this new music that I've never heard before has been really great. And even, like, there's some cool tools on the internet to find music. Have you ever heard of this thing called I think it's technically called Jukebox, but it's spelled like JQBX.
No.
It's just an app on your phone, but you can have like music listening parties with your friends, and like you each queue up a song. Anyway, like listening to music with your friends is a great way to find new stuff and like just listen completely like uncritically, you know what I mean? Just enjoy it.
Enjoy it, like that music listening space you saw over there with all the records. It's what we do.
Sick.
Yeah, it's what we do all day. It's
Tons
just
of
like,
records.
Hey, you like this? Oh, you like vetiver? You like fruit bats? You're like, oh, you like fruit bats? You'd like,
dude.
From Devendra
Those are some
Benhart.
2011 bands.
Yeah, right. And it
Love
just
that.
like goes back and forth, and then your next friend's like, oh wait, you like that? You'd probably like this, and then he goes back. Oh, they actually sound like someone from 1971.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. We have a really fun system here where we just play sides of a record, so
cool.
it's like our own little playlist, and it's just been cool to hop around. And there's so much records here from different people. I don't know. It's been really fun, and my main thing that I always show is just more like the local bands because I try to always get those records, and it's been so cool to see all of them and the growth and just the unique stuff. I love collecting the different colored ones, like the first batch of 200 or something.
Totally.
Yeah, so I have a lot of really fun ones, and yeah, I don't know. I've fallen back in love with vinyl.
Yeah.
And listening to music again. I like being really critical was a problem I had for a while after learning so much about audio engineering.
Yes.
And now like gotten back to like I could just sit back and just listen and enjoy it and like tell a friend about it and just have fun. And that's like the beauty of the vinyl. It's with, you have to be deliberate with your intention. You have to sit there. If you want to actually listen to it, you have to flip it, turn it, go back. You don't just put on Spotify playlist and walk away. And that has a time and place. That's fun too. Like we talked earlier. It's great for sharing, but it's just different intentions. And yeah, it's been interesting. I feel like it's helped a lot. I wish it paid artists more.
Oh yeah.
I know you know.
I mean, yeah.
I wish it did.
It is kind of scary when you realize how much of like a musician's income is wrapped up in like the in-person experience of selling tickets to shows.
T-shirts, vinyl,
totally.
CDs, pins.
That's all of it, essentially. Unless you get lucky and like someone puts your song in a commercial or something, which doesn't happen to most people very often and hasn't really happened to us. So yeah, it's hard. But I mean, like on the other side, like you need people to have those experiences sharing your music with their friends to like get people to come to your shows. So it kind of all feeds into each other.
It does. But those companies have a lot of money.
Oh, totally. Yeah. That pissed me off the other day when Daniel Ek was like, I want to buy Arsenal FC. It's like, okay, clearly you have enough money to buy a Premier League team. Like, what's wrong with this picture? Like, how many hundreds of thousands of artists are like struggling to make a living on your platform, and you're like rolling in the dough, clearly. But whatever. It's gonna come. I'm interested to see what happens because it's gonna. As a music fan, I love it. Like, I love Spotify. I love being able to listen to like anything at any time, and it's really cheap for having access to everything.
Yeah, the high quality streaming. 6 accounts for $15 a month.
Oh yeah, it should be like $100 a month, but it's not. And I think a lot of people would stop using it if it was. So it's just about what's it worth.
I would pay $100 a month for it.
Honestly, I would split that. Yeah, I think Dave and I like share his account, and I would find a way to make it work.
Yeah, with 6 accounts, if you really did, like everyone pitch in, $18.
Totally, it would be worth it.
It would. It's tricky. It's tricky. I know from experience with a lot of bands that you really do survive off selling records, T-shirts, CDs, playing shows, touring. Yeah. So to have that taken away the last year, it's been devastating for people. Yeah. Like on every level.
Totally, yeah. Everyone, like the stagehands, everyone who works in a venue, the people behind the bar, people booking the shows, everyone.
People recording records.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. It's been, luckily, I feel like, that's like one thing that you can, I feel like that has survived in a way.
A little bit, yeah.
Like
you can be like, all right, it's just me here.
Yeah.
Everyone come with masks. I cleaned all the mics.
Sure.
And I had a special cleaner that I could use on the microphones. I'm not touching anything. I'm staying away from you.
Yep.
We can kind of do this a little bit. It's up to discretion. It's super tricky.
It's
a tightrope,
It totally is. And that was something that we like kind of had to navigate last year when we like recorded the old, new old songs. But yeah, it was kind of just trusting each other, and we're kind of in a pod, like our band. So, because Dave, Sean, and I live together, and then Marcus lives with his wife. He doesn't live with us. I'm sure he's probably happy about that. But but he's like in our pod, and so we were lucky in that way because we were kind of like able to keep doing stuff throughout, similar to you and your roommates.
Yeah,
like,
we had our own little pod as well. We were able to keep productive, have band practice still.
Exactly.
There's a couple times where we couldn't, because I also have someone detached that comes by,
Sure.
but they have their own little circle. So there was definitely some times where we didn't practice. Like the first 3 months we had no practice.
Same
March
here.
to like July.
Yeah, I will never forget like the beginning of COVID, like in early March, I like was on some video call or not. Yeah, it was a video call with like just some other musician friends in Chicago, and the idea was maybe we could brainstorm and do like a benefit festival or like to help bands and venues like, stay afloat, whatever. And this was all like in person. That was the brainstorm. Like the idea was that it would be like an in-person fest. But then someone on the call chimed in and said like, I don't feel comfortable seeing my bandmates right now. Like, we don't live together and we're all over the place. Like, I don't think we can do this. And I was just like, oh man, like I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
And that's when it got really real to me. And I was like, God, we're kind of all on our own. It was scary not to be able to like unite our like in-person collective efforts But that's when I realized, like, oh, we're going to have to, like, try something different. Because, like, we can't just rely on our in-person, like, things we know to get through it. But it was fine.
It pushes us to innovate, try new things. Like, is that where you came up with the concept for the Happy Birthday Ratboys?
Kinda. I always wanted to do something to celebrate 10 years. Just because I'm very obsessed with, like, numbers, and I'm like, just very sentimental about anniversaries in general. But the original idea was to re-record the EP, like the first EP that we put out, put that on the A side, and then put the original recordings on the B side. And we probably would have figured out a way to do that if COVID never happened. Like, if we were touring, we probably would have found a way to, like, do that. But we had all this extra time, and something felt a little weird to me about, like, having an LP, but with, like, only 5 songs essentially on it. And so we had all this extra time, and we were like, oh, there are some other songs that I personally have, like, always wanted to give another go. Like, try again recording them, like, with more production, or just, like, now that I know how to play electric guitar and things like that, like, be nice to try. So yeah, we, like, gathered 5 other songs that we could do on the B side, and we were like, oh, we could just, like, record, like, a whole record if we're gonna make an LP. And it was just kind of a matter of this circumstance, this, like, anniversary on the horizon, but also having, like, a ton of spare time. So yeah, we recorded it in, like, August last year, August, September, October time. But we did a lot of it at home, which was really fun. Kind of felt like recording the EP all over again.
Yeah.
We like no pressure. It was just, like, extremely chill. But then we did a bunch of it with our friend Adam back in his studio, Type 1, which is, again, it feels very, like, DIY and intimate, but he has, like, access to a ton of awesome microphones and amps and stuff. So it felt like the perfect combination of, like, DIY vibes, like, the spirit of that.
Where it came from.
Exactly. And, like, what we have access to now and what we know a little bit more about now with, like, mics and, like, how to record.
More. 10 years later.
No, plenty more. Definitely have, like, infinite more to know. But, we, looking back now, it is nice to have just more confidence going into recording and kind of knowing more what we want. Back then, I had no fucking idea what I was doing or what I wanted to do. I was just, like...
But you did it, though.
Doing it. Yeah,
and
it was fun.
Each record and each EP record has gotten just more tight, cleaner, more thought out.
Thanks.
No, they have. Like, I was listening to, AOIOD or
AOID
earlier. And, I mean, it just brought me back to, like, 2015 and those songs and Texas especially, because you played the first intimate evening we had, you played.
Oh, yeah.
In November of 2013.
Dang.
And you played that song. And, I just remember hearing that. That was such a fun, memorable show. So many cool bands. And, so many of those bands are still playing music. And, it was just cool to see that. I don't know, that song brings me back so far. But anyway, to see it grow and just all the production getting different. It's better. I don't know. The writing's been interesting. I really like the way you write. It actually reminds me when you mention playing music for those kids in Vacation Bible School.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Getting information across.
Yeah, and you have, like, a very interesting way of your lyrics are very unique, and you have heavy lyrics, and then you also have, like, this more of, like, innocence and kind of strange. It's not strange in a bad way, but strange way of putting sentences and words together that are, like, obscure to someone who doesn't know. Like, I don't even know what that means, Like, my favorite, line that I'll never forget is, like, our love is like a lampshade. Do you even know what that means? I'm just like, what does that mean?
I don't know. Yeah.
But it sounds like something you would sing at 14 years old to 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
To just be fun.
Totally, yeah.
Right?
I love lyrics that are, like, not too, like, serious. I don't know. I love poking fun at, like, myself or a situation.
You do
song.
It often enough, but you also, have more serious things too.
Totally. It's good to balance it out. It's good to, respect your own emotions and, like, give them proper time and weight as well. But sometimes it is just fun to laugh about it. So
Like Elvis in the freezer.
oh my god, yeah.
That's one of the
yeah.
strangest but funniest things I've ever heard.
Dude, and it's real. Like that's something my aunt says is like people out there, they don't know like that shit is real. She's like the first time I heard that song I was like, "Oh my god." Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate on that or no?
I'm happy to. Yeah, like so that's just something I don't know if it's like a Kentucky thing. I don't know, but like yeah, when my cat Elvis sadly passed away way too young. He was only 6. And like he was my cat kind of. And I was away at school. And so when he passed, my mom wanted to like be able to preserve his, you know, body so that when I came home, we could have like a proper, you know, like funeral or whatever. And so, yeah, we had like a freezer in the basement that we didn't really use for food. It was just kind of like old and there. And so, yeah, she put him in there, like wrapped him in a blanket. And I was really sad, you know, like very much grieving, like torn up when I came home and I was obviously like missing him. And that was the first thing my mom said to me though. She was like upstairs, like, I don't know, just doing something upstairs. And she's like, oh, honey, by the way, like Elvis is in the freezer. Don't make sure you like, just so you know. And I was like, that like kind of snapped me out of my sadness in a way. I was like, oh my God, this is like insane. Like it's just so funny. And like,
oh, that's hilarious.
Surreal, yeah. My whole family has always been kind of like open about like morbid things are often kind of spun on their head to like just I don't know if it's a defense mechanism. A lot of people are probably like this, but you try to find like laughter,
humor,
joy, exactly, in like the context of losing something or someone. Yeah, even funerals growing up, anytime we had like a funeral, it would always inevitably turn into like a huge party. And it kind of shaped the way I look at things because at the end of the day, I mean, well, everyone has their own experience. You can never tell someone how to grieve, but that's just kind of how I've been able to like get through it sometimes is just finding a way to laugh, finding that tiny thing that'll like break the tension. You can kind of step back and say like, oh, like there's still so much to be thankful for and there's, you know, good memories that might outweigh the grief of what I'm currently feeling. So anyway, that song was my way of kind of paying homage to that moment and that whole, process of grieving, but then smiling at the end of the day.
No, it's a great defense mechanism, but
Totally.
it's also just a great way to handle life because life is full of pain and suffering. And if you can't laugh and smile and, you know, break that straight face sometimes, break the demeanor of how serious everything is, I don't know, it gets kind of miserable. You know, nobody wants to be around someone that's just always upset and angry. So, like, your music has always been, it like ebbs and flows, heavy to lighthearted. And it just kind of has a nice balance. Like, I was, went to get an oil change. You're welcome. I went to get an oil change earlier, and I was listening to the Devil's Printer. Right?
Oh, Printer's Devil, yeah.
Printer's Devil. I said it backwards.
It's all good.
And I was listening to it, and I was feeling that. I had like the sunroof open, sunshine coming through, driving down the road, and I was just like, I don't know, something about the way you guys play your guitars.
Was it that tune specifically, that song? Okay, cool.
Yeah, and Dave's guitar playing is very unique to him, you know? And your voice is very unique to you and the places you go with it. I don't know. It's just really nice and it feels right and it always feels... your music almost fits like most moods. It's interesting.
That's really good to hear. I love to put a bunch of different songs on an album that kind of will fill those gaps or something. Like, I struggle to... I don't know. I love listening to music that is kind of like, you know what it's like a kind of, not a constant, but it's like a very, like concentrated mood. Like when you put on, I'm trying to think, like a Sparkle Horse record. Actually, that's not a good example. They kind of have variety as far as like upbeat and sad. There's some records you put on where you know what you're getting. Like it's like a sad, slow album. And there's some where it's like, I don't know, Third Eye Blind. Like it's going to be like, pop punk, like that's what I want. But I love making albums where there's like a lot of different vibes happening. I don't know why. Maybe I just can't help myself. But it's nice to have more variety sometimes.
I think it's a good thing. That's what it's led to your success as an artist, as a band. to be honest.
That's something that we've actually really like found useful too in like a not a pragmatic maybe a pragmatic way. Like when we are able to tour, we've gotten to tour with like some different bands who sound very different from one another, but we can like kind of craft a set list based on like their audience. Like with Pup, we were playing like super upbeat, trying to like please those like punk fans in the crowd. But then like, I don't know, like we got to tour with Soccer Mommy and her crowd's a little bit more like laid back. And so we would try to like play more of those types of songs, you know. Having different kind of like tools to draw from is useful in that sense. But then hopefully when we play shows for the people who came to see us, give them a little bit of everything and they're down with it.
That's a great approach, honestly.
Yeah.
You really can cover all your ground. And you can also play like stripped down solo sets and stuff.
Yeah, which I always love doing. Like acoustic guitar is still my favorite instrument for sure. So
that's kind of like how I see you.
Yeah.
That acoustic guitar that it's plugged in.
Yep.
Yeah. And you started playing more electric, the Dan Electro, what?
Yeah.
2015, 16?
Yeah, I bought it in 2014. Actually like a month before we started recording AOID.
I remember that. I went to I think you and Molly had a place and you had like a house room board and I went.
Oh, dude.
And we were in your room and you were like, oh, check this out. I got a new Dan Electro. I think I'm going to start playing electric. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting.
Dude, so shout out to my friend Eli who played in like Sean's old bands. He was the guy who like encouraged me to get that guitar because I saw that guitar in the store in like right when I graduated from college. And then I had plans to like be gone that whole summer, but I was like, if it's there when I get back, like maybe I'll get it. And it was. And I told Eli that story and he's like, what are you waiting for? Like, you got to buy it. And I was like, should I? Like, he like just like, you know, gave me a kick in the ass and was like, do it.
Do it.
And so thank you, Eli. Which is ironic because he's not playing music anymore. But anyway, I will always appreciate him just giving me that encouragement. And yeah, on a whim, just bought that guitar and my amp together.
The Fender Bassman?
Yeah, it's a Blues DeVille.
Blues DeVille.
It looks just like a Bassman.
Yeah.
It's a really weird amp. I love it. It was kind of like broken when I bought it. It's like never really sounded like correct or whatever, but I'm obsessed with it. And yeah, I didn't know, I had never played electric guitar before, ever. And so buying that and then just throwing ourselves into the experience of like recording AOID on the weekends was really, really fun. Looking back now, you know, I maybe would have recorded the guitar differently or something. I don't know.
I think it sounds great. I would have. No one would ever know.
It's kind of nice too to have like a document of like this is what like it sounded like when I was first playing electric guitar. You know what I mean? Not that I played that much differently now or anything, but I just had no reference for like how to do it or what it should sound like or anything. So it was definitely a whole new world.
I mean, without you saying that, I don't think anybody would know.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I never would have known.
Nice.
I mean, I kind of knew that, but like, I never would have thought like, oh, this doesn't sound right or it's weird. That's something only you know.
Totally. That record's just in my brain, like, it sounds like the beginning of like a big transition for me.
Yeah,
and then
it was.
Like GN is like the most transitional album. That's like the middle of it. And then in my brain, Printer's Devil is like us like exiting that transition, or at least me, and like embracing the rock.
I could see that. It has gotten more rock.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, I'm sure you have plans for, you know, a fourth record. And,
yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
We just had practice last night, trying out the new tunes, like with the band. Yeah, it just takes time figuring out parts and stuff, but... It
takes a long time.
It does.
Years.
Yeah. It's crazy, though, because, like, we recorded Printer's Devil in 2018. Like, November. So, November, December. So, it's been a long time. So, like... I've been kind of writing songs, like, since then. And so a lot of these songs that we're, like, working on now for, like, the next album already feel kind of old to me. And I'm like, oh, God, this is kind of a weird sensation because I've never played these for anyone. And, like, yeah, it's just kind of strange. But
that's something a lot of people who are just listeners to music don't really know.
Totally,
like, most of the songs you're hearing are from, like, 2 to 4 years ago or older. because it takes, especially if you're really in the industry, it's like you finished it in 2018, but it came out in January or February
2020.
28th, 2020 or 26 or something.
Yeah.
I went to that show. That was the last show I went to, by the way.
Oh, man.
So thanks.
Oh,
Slow Mass Advanced Bass Ratboys at Lincoln Hall.
Dude.
That was a good show. A lot of familiar faces there. But yeah, that was a year and 3 months, the last show. That's crazy.
Sad.
It is sad. But so 14 months it takes, or longer sometimes, because there's so many moving parts, the vinyl, the promotion, the touring, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And throughout that whole period of time when we were like preparing to release the album, just kind of keep writing songs or keep trying and playing on our own. And so, yeah, it's funny, but it's awesome too, because I tend to take a really long time writing songs, so it just has given me extra time to keep, tweaking things and keep getting comfortable with it. 'Cause it's been my practice in the past to resurrect super old song ideas and put them on an album. But I'm kind of running out of those. So it's exciting to be moving forward now. Because now sometimes when I listen to super old ideas, I'm like, oh, this is not good.
Not working.
Nah, we'll just not.
Do you have a specific process, a sequence you do, or is it just, do you wing it? Does Dave bring ideas to you, or do you write chords and lyrics and kind of?
Yeah, I usually write alone first. I'll have an idea. Sometimes it comes out of me and Dave just playing together, just the two of us. But yeah, I generally would play guitar and sing, stream of consciousness nonsense. I feel like most people do this and we just don't really talk about it. Jeff Tweedy's talked about it a lot lately. That's kind of his process, and it's really nice when you can just sing and play without thinking about it at all. And if you can record yourself on your phone, then you can capture your first ideas where you weren't, conscious of what you were doing. But anyway, so yeah, I have a bunch of voice memos, things like that. And so sometimes I'll be able to finish something right away, or at least have something come out of it that feels like a song and not just rambling. But then sometimes I'll just go back years later, listen to all my old voice memos and find something and be like, oh, why didn't I work on this before now? So that's been kind of my process in the last few weeks, is kind of digging through all of my 2019, 2020 voice memos and picking things out, which isn't always a good idea, because sometimes you forget how you do things, how you play things, and that's really, really stupid. It's I did this, I can do this, but how?
How did I come up with that?
Silly. But
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Does Dave still play that Telecaster?
Yeah, he plays, that is his half-step down guitar.
Okay.
Usually. He keeps that one tuned, half-step
down. And then he
had
a Les Paul?
Yeah, it's it's an Ibanez,
right.
Knockoff Les Paul. It's I don't know what God, he's told me so many times about that guitar, what the model is.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, that guitar is awesome. And it's perfectly suited to him. But yeah, to get back to your question, the process is usually I'll write something alone, and then I'll show it to him. If he gives me the green light, then that's all I need to keep going. Because Dave's opinion is kind of the most highly regarded thing that I could want. And so, so when he gives me his
green
thumbs
light,
up, I'm just sick. And so, and then he helps me a lot with structuring things and just kind of, if I'm just kind of trimming the fat, so to speak, getting things to be where they need to be. And so then when I have that, I would bring it to Sean and Marcus, and we would all try to play it together. And that's where it really kind of takes shape. But yeah, so it starts just me.
Sean's been a great addition to it, because he's a great singer. He's been writing songs forever. He has that in him. He's one of my favorite singers.
Me too.
When Mikey introduced me to him, we went to see the Dirty Projectors at Lincoln Hall in June 2013.
That's sick.
And he was there. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings afterwards, because we went to the early show. There was a 7 and a 10.
Wow.
And Cody
Yeah.
was there too.
Yeah.
And he was like, Mikey was like, oh, let's do a session afterwards. And Mikey had his T3i, his little 50 millimeter
Nice.
lens. So we came back here. This was when I first started doing them 8 years ago. And we filmed Mary Todd and
Oh, dude.
what is the other one we filmed?
I know exactly the session that you're speaking
Yeah.
of, though. That is some really amazing stuff.
Yeah, it was so intimate.
Very emotional.
Yes. Yes. I remember listening and watching and I was like, it was one of those things that I was like, I have to keep doing this.
Yeah.
You know, I have to
Hell
like
yeah.
capturing that moment. And yeah, that struck a chord with me. And that was I'll never forget that. Mary Todd, I can't think of the other one, but I've never heard such quiet, soft, a 6-minute acoustic song.
Yes.
Like that's not very common.
It's very different from what he was doing at the time, too.
Exactly.
Because back then, most of his songs were like super short and super loud. So
Yeah.
that really caught me off guard.
Yeah, 58 seconds
Yes.
of like yelling and one mic in a room.
And power chords,
Power
yeah.
chords, yeah. So when he did that, I was like, wow, this is really special. And hearing writers like him and Kyle and you, I'm just like, some of my favorite songwriters are you three, honestly.
Thank you.
And Kyle, I don't know. That man,
I mean, yeah.
A Night with a Friend, I remember filming that. I think I was crying as I was filming it because you guys were so quiet and I hear it and the lyrics and the way you do it, then it hits hard at the end and it's like going through. It's how I see it and how I feel about it, which is the beauty of art. You know, you could associate it with your experience, like going through a relationship and like going back when he talks about like being in a room and you know he didn't move things around and just talking about that. It's so normal and human. Like everyone goes through that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, he's great with that.
Yep. Yeah, his lyrics will always be like magical to me, like very mystifying because they hold so much power and they're so simple. Like it's almost like poetry, but like it's like a still life painting kind of. You know what I mean? It's like something that you can instantly understand and relate to, but it feels so poetic. Like just the context of it. He is probably like my favorite songwriter. I am, and it feels so weird to me that I get to like know him too. But yeah, and like just the power of the dynamics, like when that song goes a cappella, it like gives me goosebumps every time. Cause
Oh my God, yeah.
no one does that. Like to have a rock song, just all of a sudden the bottom drops out and it's like there's no music anymore. It's just two voices in a room. It's like so intense.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
A wonderful idea. Like what a great idea. And you and Molly, just the way you come together, it's
thanks.
it's great. Yeah, that's
I
one of
think
my favorite videos I've ever filmed by far.
Oh yeah, that was a really special day. God. Yeah, I feel so lucky to like get to be involved in any way, like in what they're doing. 'Cause yeah, Molly and Kyle, that's like a great pair.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They are both so talented and like two very close friends. But when they started like dating and collaborating and stuff, I was just beside myself. I was so happy.
Yeah.
It's been really cool to see.
It has been. It's how many other bands do you play with?
I mean, kind of none right now. Like it's just I just do our stuff at home.
I guess pre-COVID.
Yeah. Pretty much just Jupiter Styles and Special Death.
So like the three.
Yeah. But I'm not really involved in like the songwriting for those projects.
You just hop on board.
Yep. Whenever Kyle like needs me or wants me to do anything, I will do it. Like, and if he doesn't, and if he has all of his bases covered, then like that's totally fine. Like I just I'm on call. Like if he ever needs or wants like another voice or someone to play bass, then I'm like around. But it's the same with Sean. Like Sean he's very much a solo, like he prefers to operate that way with writing and with recording even. But like I love touring with that band, with Jupiter Styles. Because I almost get to just like remove myself and just play. It's like way less pressure when you're not like fronting a band.
It's so nice.
Yeah. And so like selfishly, I love that because I get to just like rock out and I don't have to like think about anything.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like playing in other bands now where I'm just like, I play guitar, I play bass, and I'm just kind of...
How many are you in?
3 currently.
Nice.
And I just get to like play. And they write and they come in. I'm just like, yeah, I'll play bass, I play guitar, and it's just fun. I get to not think so hard and just kind of be lost in the music, fall in
Yeah.
love with the instrument again.
Totally.
Instead of being so nervous about like how X, Y, Z is going to come together, trying to orchestrate the band, you're just kind of like, I'm just adding my 2 cents,
Yeah.
having fun.
And just appreciate the songs and like.
Right. And they're great. They're all great writers and great musicians. So I don't know. It's just really fun. I'm glad to still be playing music all these years, and kind of we're going to go a lot harder with it in the fall.
Cool.
Like for the first time ever, I've had enough time and enough stability, but like, oh, I can now start doing the band thing again. I did it at the
Nice.
beginning, then like DZ stuff took over, and now I'm like coming back to it, which is cool. I'm excited for it, but yeah, it's been interesting. I want to tour. I've never toured ever.
Yeah.
And I want to do it so bad. I know you've been touring. When was your first tour?
2014.
2014.
With Sean, with single player.
So about 6 years.
Yeah.
If you don't count the last year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the kind of thing though where like you just gotta do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think having like I had the benefit of having like no expectations, not just low, but like no expectations. So like, if you go into it like being cool with just like doing it for the love of doing it, then you definitely won't be disappointed. It is hard though when like. I don't know, when you kind of put the pressure on yourself to like bring people to shows and to like sell merch and stuff. Obviously you want to do those things, but when that becomes like the point of it, it's like a little bit harder to feel like satisfied sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll have such a good time.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be so sick.
Yeah, I want to do it with any of the bands, maybe Neighbors You Know, but probably Sylvia's band that we're in. It just makes more sense. That's kind of the more
Cool.
focused group right now. And
Do you have any like dream places you'd want to go?
Japan.
Like bucket list spots? Yeah. dude.
Japan. I love Japan, and like South Korea would be really sweet. But Europe would be cool. I mean, I know you've toured Europe, and you're touring next year.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So cool to see that.
Thanks. It feels very weird to have a tour announced a year ahead of time.
It's
Very
extreme, but
Yeah,
it's
it is.
it's necessary. It's the way it is.
True. Yeah. Hopefully it'll all work out.
Yeah.
We'll be along for the ride. But yeah, dude, that's awesome. The thing is, like, living where we live here in and around Chicago, like, it's seriously the secret sauce to like being
Thank you. I've been saying this for a while.
touring and like being a band is easier here than it is in other places because like you can go to Milwaukee, you can like go to Wisconsin and play shows, you can go to Michigan, you can easily get to like St. Louis, Kentucky.
6 hours in any direction.
In any direction, you're gonna have so many different places to play, and so like it is feasible to like book a really sick week-long DIY tour.
Yeah, Midwest, just
Easy, like
so many shows.
oh, that'll be so sick.
And then that's the difficulty. Like Portland, Seattle, so cool, but it's
It's pretty far.
2,000 miles away, and they're
Yeah.
not near a lot of big cities.
No,
It's
yeah,
not the Midwest, and New York is. It's a you got Boston, New York, Portland, Philly, DC, Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like a whole other thing. There's more people, more competition.
Yeah,
You're
sure.
on the one end. Now you can't get to everything else.
Yeah.
Like everything else is even further because you're on one end of the country. This middle ground.
yeah.
It's a really, and we have the luxury of the elaborate highway system all meeting here.
Totally,
Like
yeah.
all east and west, 80, 88, 80, 90, 94, all coming right through.
Uh-huh.
And then the north, I-55, 57, 65, all meeting.
Totally.
I've discovered that when I realized how easy it was to just reach out to a touring band to come do a session here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they all take 294, and I live a half mile from it.
yeah.
Why is it so easy? Why do they keep saying yes? Because they probably put in their GPS like, oh yeah, we could do that. That's right off our tour. I'm like, oh wow, this is a really awesome secret sweet spot, Chicagoland area.
It's ideal. Yeah.
It is,
And people, whenever, like, sometimes people ask me, like, what has, how has, like, being a band in Chicago influenced you? And that's, like, kind of the main thing that I think of is, like, we've gotten to see so many awesome bands and, like, we've had the opportunity to, like, tour relatively cheaply and easily because we live here. So it's not as much, like, some musical, like, through line. There is that, but, like, the opportunity, being situated where we are to, like, see bands and get to go other places and, like, meet bands is probably the main thing that's
Yeah.
like helped us grow over the years.
yeah, in proximity to two big airports,
Yeah.
the train system.
It's pretty sick.
The universities just bring an influx of musicians and artists
Yeah.
every year. There's new people coming in. So like the music scene is vast,
Yeah, and it's like changing all the time.
always morphing and changing.
Very
and
sick.
DIY venues up, and it's just everywhere. It's so much. And I don't know what other cities have or what they're truly like with that, but when you associate that with, how big the population is, I can only assume that it's very unique to Chicago. And then again, the location, geographical placement, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Wish we didn't have the type of winters we have, because there's that lull area of not so much productivity, but we're so used to it.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me anymore.
I almost like shows better in the winter than the summer sometimes. It's hot. It's like I don't want to be sweating profusely in July.
That's a pretty awesome feeling when you like exit a sweaty venue into like the cold winter air. It like feels
probably
so
dangerous,
good.
but feels great.
Oh, who cares? It feels so good.
Yeah.
It's a worse experience in the summer when you walk out into like an 80-degree day and you realize like, oh, it was really hot in there. Like it's kind of, I feel okay now, but like holy shit, like God, I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
We experience it all here, I guess.
Yeah, it's a humbling place to grow up, to have
sure.
that. I mean, you have it a lot in Louisville too. It's a little bit warmer, but it's still the Midwest area.
Yeah, a little bit. Honestly, South Bend was way worse than here.
Really?
I feel like the weather is the same, just like slightly more intense. Like just, cranked up a little bit more.
Yeah, you don't have the lake effect.
You do there.
Oh, you do?
It's awful. Yeah, like just like sweeping off of Lake Michigan.
Oh, yeah, you're not that far away from Lake Michigan.
Yeah,
right?
it's like 50 miles away.
Oh, yeah, it's not that far.
Yeah, it's like from the lake, and like so. Yeah,
that could be why it's worse.
It's
because
it's
the weather
definitely
goes
why.
from west to east, so it could just sweep right to you.
It intensifies over the water, and it just like the wind is just faster, and like the snow is just more, and it's like there were some days like walking to class, I was just like, why did I do?
Why didn't I go south?
Why did I choose this? Like this is fucked up.
It's what everybody who lives in the north says.
You have those moments,
like, why? But you're like, I've still been here for 31 years.
Yeah.
I keep saying why.
There's benefits, there's pros and cons, but yeah, I don't know if I would ever want to like leave here. Like if I had to move anywhere in America, I'd probably move to like Michigan somewhere.
What about as a band, as an artist? Like if you had to pick a city?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, feel very lucky to live here. Like I don't think I would, as far as like a different scene or something.
If you had to, hypothetically.
Like if we had to leave.
If you had to, someone said you gotta leave, where do you go to keep doing what you're doing?
Oh, Jesus.
I know, I put you on the spot.
Maybe like, no. I was going to say Boston, but no. I that's so far from everything too. Like, yeah, maybe like Texas or something.
Austin?
Yeah, but Austin has trouble too because it's like super expensive there now.
Dallas, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have very good friends there.
For those just listening and not
Sorry.
watching, everything I'm showing, your face gets more and more like no.
I don't know. Yeah, like fuck.
It's hard, right?
Maybe St. Louis. I love being in like kind of a smaller, like Chicago's obviously a very big city,
Yeah.
but like I don't know if I'd ever want to move to like New York or LA.
I couldn't do LA. No way.
Yeah, it's the thing. Like I've had some really close friends move there in the last few years, and it seems enticing just because they're out there. But I need seasons. I need like I don't know. I
something
need
about
something.
it. The change. It is a very strange place. So transplant heavy.
Yeah, sure.
A different industry wherever like that is what's going on out there. Like
entertainment
it is
industry.
entertainment. It is music. It is acting, and people like that's what you're doing when you're there.
Yeah.
Like in Chicago, like you have a job and like you do this thing
Yeah.
on the side, and it's like it's just different. It's
Yeah,
just a
there's
different
just
mentality.
more going on in that way, like outside of the industry or whatever. But yeah, it just feels more balanced here. I don't know.
Yeah.
If I had to leave, I would probably pitch a fit. I'd probably get pretty mad.
So, I'm not leaving. I
chill.
don't care about your question. I'm just not leaving.
Yeah, I'm good.
That's the best answer. I have a hard time thinking about that too. It's just such a sweet spot for so many reasons, and the music scene's great, the art scene's great, food's great, culture, proximity to everything. Outside of the city, like the city itself and the architecture is gorgeous, and then the areas around it, like the forest preserves of the lakes, the beaches, going to Michigan and Wisconsin, it's so cool. It's so beautiful.
Like, it is really awesome. I fully get how, like, someone from the West Coast would come here and be like, oh my God, there's no, like, nature around, which I can totally respect. Because, like, when you go out west, like, and you're around the mountains and, like, the canyons and everything.
Deserts and everything.
Oh my God, that is, like, truly the most humbling, like, beautiful experience you can have. So, like, I get it. But the Great Lakes are so beautiful. Like, it's just a different place.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate the, like, beauty that we have around here. However much it feels like we're in a suburban sprawl, whatever. But there are things I appreciate about that, too, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like the grid.
Oh, my God. Don't even get me started. I'm going to start nerding out.
I'm deeply obsessed with the grid. Yeah.
You too? Really?
Yeah,
Oh
dude,
my
straight
God.
up. Like, Louisville, I don't know. Have you ever been to Louisville?
I've driven through it a million times.
Okay, like on 65.
Just, so many times.
Yeah.
Going everywhere.
Cool.
Just driving through it, yeah.
Well, if you ever, like, get off the highway and drive
Have you ever-
around.
I have once. I went to a brewery
Okay.
while we were stopping through on the way up from Knoxville, Tennessee. So.
Oh, got it. Okay. Maybe you noticed that, like, the streets are not straight. They're not
No.
like Chicago. It's
No.
like a very windy. You kind of have to know where you're going, or you have to, like, ask for landmarks, or, like, it's very much just free form.
Very old school.
Yeah.
Whatever
I don't know.
happens, happens.
I don't know.
There's a
who the
river, let's
hell-
follow it.
Totally. No, literally, there's a road called River Road, which is like how I got to school every day. Just drive along the river, and eventually you'll get there.
Find yourself a river and just follow it up yonder.
Straight up. But like, but then coming here, and I'm like just very, very in tune. I try to be as in tune as I can with like my surroundings, as far as knowing where I am and knowing how to get somewhere else. Like, I pride myself on being able to like navigate well.
Yeah.
Like, have a good sense of direction. That's like something I'm very into. And I just love geography. Like, you know, so coming here, learning about the grid. When I first moved here, I was doing Instacart a lot. And so doing a ton of deliveries. And like being able to learn your way around and tell someone the cross streets where you are, you can know exactly where you are in the city based on an address. If you told me like 5345 like West North Avenue, I would know like almost exactly where you are. Like, that's so special, and like so just like
Yeah, just two and a half blocks east of Central.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, it's just so underrated, like how well laid out Chicago is. Obviously, those diagonal streets, they mess things up sometimes.
They really do.
But that's part of the charm too, is
Yeah.
like
And that's really a north side problem.
true, yeah.
You know, you got Southwest Highway and Archer on the south, but that's not nearly as confusing as Elston and Lincoln and Clark and
I know, Milwaukee. Yeah.
They're
It's-
really confusing.
But then that's the ultimate, like, that's like, once you've lived here for like 5 or 6 years, then you start memorizing where those intersections are. And those are like the, like, ultimate, you know, that's like the street cred, in my opinion.
People really pride themselves on those diagonal
Yeah.
know-hows. That's not the real six corners, just stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like it's just so like local and like so specific. And I love stuff like that because it makes me feel like I really like belong somewhere. Like I'm like in the community when I like know how to get places, you know? So
Yeah, it is a really well thought out system.
Yeah.
And I wish it was explained more and people understood it better.
Yeah.
I've
Because that's a selling point. If someone was trying to move to Chicago, I'd be like, and also, you can know where you are all the time.
if you try, you won't ever be lost.
Exactly.
You just gotta put a little effort.
You can find
Figure
your way
it out.
home. Yeah. Even if it's not the most direct route, you can find your way home.
Yeah.
No matter where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's on the, like, compass.
Yeah.
North, south, east, west. Oh, my God.
It's great. I am very much obsessed with it. It's kind of funny
Yeah.
you said that. I'm like the exact same way.
Really?
I can tell you some stuff. I might blow your mind right now.
Dude, you should.
I am a nerd. I will admit
We must.
this. I'm a nerd, and
I am too.
in college, at the Art Institute of Columbia, instead of paying attention, I would sit there and like just draw out the grid and figure out the math
Nice.
of how it all works. And I noticed a trend of like, on average, there's always weird exceptions in Chicago,
Yeah.
but on average, I can't find this information on the internet, by the way, but on average, the number system will always start over at 66 on the last two numbers. So you might see like, my address 8548. Mm-hmm. I'm always like, what do those numbers represent? So I've realized obviously the even numbers are on the west side of the streets that go north and south. Odd numbers are on the east side, and then even numbers on streets that go east and west are on the north side, and odd ones on the south side, right?
Right.
But then I noticed, like, when you get to anything like 65, 66, it starts over to zero again. What does that mean? I'm like, okay. Well, there are 8 blocks in an official mile. And there's 5,280 feet in a mile. What's 5,280 divided by 8? It's 660.
Oh, yeah.
So that
Cool.
second number represents how many feet at a zero you are from the nearest intersection facing it. So if you're on the south side, I'm 480 feet away from that intersection.
Got it.
Sure enough, I got a tape measure out and measured it, and that's exactly what it is.
Good for you. That's so fucking sick.
It's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
They don't tell you that. That information's nowhere.
But see, Ben, I have a question for you. Because where I live, the numbers, well, maybe this is just depending on like lot sizes. But like,
yeah, there are variables.
Because, the like street I'm on, our next door neighbor, we're 2 away from the corner. I don't want to dox my address, but like our neighbor to the left is like 00, and then next door, us, we are 04.
Mm-hmm.
And then next to us is 08. Mm-hmm. It like skips. Mm-hmm. You know, normally it would be like 02, 4, 6,
mm-hmm.
8. But yeah, on our street it like goes by 4s.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that doesn't affect what you're saying though.
Because you would be 40 feet.
We're still probably 40 feet.
80 feet.
Maybe that's just a marker of how big the lots are or something.
It's usually a combination of that, but that's what that number represents.
Wow.
And, it depends on where you measure from. I'm measuring from this part of the yard, but that's the rough estimate. So to know, so if you're driving, you're like, oh, it's 85, 48, and you're like, well, first of all, I know it's even, so it's going to be on, if I'm going north, it's going to be on my right side. Okay, so that's one indicator. And you're driving, you see like, oh, there's the intersection. That looks, football field away. It's probably going to be here, and bam, it's right there. Mm-hmm. Like you hit the mark, and it literally is a pinpoint. Like it's a perfect grid.
Yeah. And
it's so simple. And then there's other things like on the south side, the 8-mile marks are even numbers, and that's to distinguish from the north side. So like, 63rd Street, 71st, 79th, 87th, which is here, 95th, 103rd, 111th, and so on.
And so on.
And north side, it's even to distinguish. This is the north side.
Interesting.
800, which is Chicago, 1600 North Avenue, 24 Fullerton, 32 Belmont.
I about that.
I know. See, this is my...
That's sick. But dude, there's like history tied up in it too, because it blew my mind when I realized, I was always like, where is like 0? I always assumed it was like...
State Madison.
That's where it is, right?
Yeah.
I always assumed that it would be like somewhere not as far, like
not as far east.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's back then maybe. I don't know if this is true. Is that just where like kind of why is it there?
Probably because that was the epicenter.
The like geographic center of the city at that time.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it didn't sprawl out this far.
Right.
Like when this was starting, like my grandfather came here in 1951 and built this house. Mm-hmm. Like that grid wasn't way out here. Now the grid goes to Frankfurt. It goes way out west. You can go, past Wolf Road and Willow Springs Road, Wolf Road. You go to County Line Road, Bell Road. These are still in the grid way west.
Yeah.
And same thing north. It sprawled out further, even south past Oak Forest and Madison. Those numbers go to 200. Like that didn't exist 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it has sprawled out since the city was much smaller, and I guess they just picked that spot. And even that, it's simple downtown to figure that out. It's like presidents' last names, and it goes in a certain order.
Great Lakes, yeah.
But there's weird anomalies. Like I think they skip. I think like 9th, like 8th or 9th or 10th Street. They skip, and Madison to Roosevelt's 1 mile, even though it's 1,200.
Okay.
So weird ones. And then Roosevelt to Cermak, which is 10 blocks, is 1 mile.
Okay, so they're kind of stretching.
Yeah, and then it starts fresh at 8 when you go to 31st Street, 39th, 47th, 55th. And and then east and west, the major roads are 8 blocks. And even, I wish they kept going further with it, but like when you get by Harlem, they're O's.
Oh,
it's
the alphabet.
Yeah, O's.
I've noticed that. That's right where we live.
Okay.
It's like in that alphabet area.
Yeah, and then you get to like the Ridgeland or Narragansett, which is a weird one. It rotates depending on where you go.
Yeah, it turns in like Nagel.
Yeah, it's a weird one, and it's those are N's, and then the M's are by past Ridgeland by Central, and then the K's by Pulaski, and the L's by Cicero, and I was like, they could have just kept going all the way, but then it stops. And
there are like a couple that aren't alphabetical.
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
You're like, wow, how'd they do that?
Yeah, it's very annoying. But that blew my mind, actually. That was like one of my favorite things about like finding out when we moved to this house where we live, which is like in the ends of that zone. I didn't know anything about that part of Chicago. We just kind of ended up there because it was like cheap and had a basement and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it took me like a few weeks of like driving, from close, like, I don't know, the city or whatever to where we live now, like noticing that all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, this is sick. I can like tell how far I am from home. Like I can approximate the remaining drive time I have, but without using my phone, because I love to try to not use my phone
I won't use my phone in
as
the
much.
city.
I like doing it because for traffic reasons, like
Yeah,
just
that's a
avoiding
good.
traffic.
Again,
but-
when it is a tool, it's a beautiful tool to use.
yeah,
But when possible, I recommend using your mind and stay
Yes.
sharp. Be aware of your surroundings. It's kind of fun. It's a little game.
oh yeah,
It's like, oh, it's there. Oh, I could try this, and then you start to get good. You don't even need the app to figure out traffic. It's like, oh, it's 5 o'clock on a Friday. Well, I'm gonna go this way now or that way now.
Kind of memorize the like side streets.
Avoid 9094 if it's rush hour
Yeah.
at all costs.
And 290
Yes.
sucks, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that we have this in common. Do you ever like? I have a really bad habit going on. I don't really go on trips out of the context of tour very often, but if I ever get to do that, I have a bad habit of like the night before, like if I know what we're gonna be doing the next day, like planning out like walking routes, like looking up directions for like how to get to these places.
Yeah.
Just because I get so anxious in like a new city when I don't know my way around. And part of the fun though of traveling is like getting lost and like letting
Getting
that
lost,
happen.
letting it
but
go.
I have trouble with that.
Well, do you know how the whole interstate system works?
Oh, the like that blew my mind when I found that out too.
Yeah.
The like that like smaller numbers in the south to north and then
Yeah, the odd numbers are going
west to east.
are going north and south.
Right.
Even numbers, and then what the 3-number interstates represent. Or
Tell me about that. Because that I don't know as much about.
so, like 294
Right.
is an extension of 94.
Right.
But because it's two, it goes around Chicago, so
So
you have
the
to go through
different
it.
loops.
Yeah, it's usually-
so 355 is farther.
Then I-55, it
Right.
connects to it, and it's usually a loop, a direct loop around a city. But Chicago has the lake, so it gets cut off.
Right.
So if you went to somewhere like Austin, they have a loop around it. You go to somewhere
Indy,
like Atlanta,
465.
a loop around it. Yeah, and it's always a number. Sometimes it's a little arbitrary, the 4 or the 3 or the 2, but it's a number directly connected to that, so you can do a loop around the city, so you're not stuck within the interstate that has to go through it.
Right.
But you can still, it's like a bypass. You can still do it and
Yeah.
avoid the traffic and all that, but it's connected. So yeah, if you know that, and like the even ones going north and south, odds, or evens ones going east and west, and the odds going north and south from low to high. So like 10 is low from like Tallahassee all the way to
Yeah.
New Orleans, and it goes up to 90, which comes through here, and then you go all the way to 95, which is like New York to Miami, all the way to California where it's 1 or 5.
Yep.
Once you know that, you're like, I can travel this whole country and never get lost.
Yeah, totally.
Like I can at least get to the major cities,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what the indicators are. It's like, oh, if I want to go to New Orleans, guess what? Hop on I-55, and you go straight to New Orleans. You have to do some weird stuff, but just look at the sign. When you get to St. Louis, then it has a weird branch off, but just know, stay on I-55.
You want to go to San Francisco? Just hop on 80.
Yeah, hop on 80. You want to go from
We're good.
Boston to San Francisco? Hop on 80.
It's so
you know,
crazy.
or New York to San Francisco is 80. Boston is 90 to Seattle.
Right.
Yeah,
That's correct.
it's really simple.
I like how all these things are laid out like thoughtfully. And when you realize it's like just like breaking a code or something, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like even zip codes,
Yeah,
like how they get bigger as you go east
yeah.
is or no, west, I should say. Like California is the 9s and like Boston's 0 or whatever. But yeah, that's actually helped me kind of like whenever I have to like ship out merch, sometimes people will have like an incorrect zip code in there or like an incorrect state. And I'll be able to say like, oh, like this doesn't make, like I can
Yeah.
like fix an error without even like looking it up kind of, which is so sick.
I always remind people, like, these systems were designed before we had smartphones. Like, how do you think
Yeah.
humans figured this out and got
Yeah,
around?
like how did bands tour before Google
You have to
Maps?
know these things.
Exactly.
When we'd go on road trips as kids, my dad would have the map out. He'd be like, okay, we'd always go camping in Tennessee. And be like,
Yeah.
okay, 65. Well, I don't want to take that. I want to go through Cincinnati. I'm going to do this. And then hop on 20 from Nashville. Okay, and then you just do it. You memorize it, you just go. And it's really not that hard. You do it a couple times, you get the system.
Right.
It's designed for it came out in the 50s, and it's designed for anyone to understand. And then the old interstate system, like LaGrange being 45, Archer Avenue
Oh,
being
yeah.
171,
All those
that's
routes.
even older, and it's the same concept. It does the same thing. They just built on that. When Eisenhower came up with this or funded it, they came up with the concept of doing that. And it works really well. And I don't know why, because of GPS, people have kind
Yeah.
of forgotten that. They're like intimidated by it. And it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you're not really like taught
No.
the intricacies of the interstate system growing up. Yeah, that was something that just through experience of like driving all over the place, kind of like slowly via like osmosis, like realized these things. And I was like, whoa, this
It's
is actually like
cool.
pretty fucking sick. Yeah. What's your favorite like interstate drive if you had to pick?
So I've done a bunch. I road trip a lot.
Yeah.
Like I'm driving to Texas next week, so I'm
Oh,
taking.
nice.
I'm probably gonna do the 57 route to Memphis, and then hop
Did you hear
on.
about that bridge?
What bridge?
We should talk about that. There's a bridge in Memphis that's closed over the Mississippi River because there's a big break.
Oh no.
You might want to bring out Google
Never
Maps
mind.
for that
I'm
one.
taking I-55 to St.
There you
Louis and
go.
taking that through Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Missouri to Oklahoma. And
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
maybe just check the news the night before you go. 'Cause maybe they will have fixed the bridge by then. But
one of my
currently
favorite
closed.
drives is you take 90 to 80-90 all the way to Cleveland.
Yeah.
And you go down, believe it's 78 through Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And the drive through Pittsburgh, past there, and then you go through the mountains, like going to Baltimore. I drove to Baltimore in October to visit a friend that lives in a cabin in the woods. It was really cool just to do that drive. I did it alone.
Nice.
And just going up and down through, cutting through the Appalachians. There's this weird route where you have to cut straight across it. And it's just so beautiful. There was a really beautiful route going to South Carolina where you're leaving the Appalachians and it feels like you're on this endless hill for 20 miles. You could just put your car in neutral and you'll just be going 80 miles an hour for forever. I've never gone far out west, but I am driving to Utah in June.
Nice.
So I think that's probably going to be my favorite because that one's good. Driving 41 across the southern part of Florida, the Everglades, from Naples to Miami is really beautiful.
Nice.
And that's 41, which is Lakeshore Drive.
Oh, wow.
It goes all the way down there. So back in
Crazy.
the day when people would go to Miami from Chicago, 80 years ago, they'd take 41 all the way
Straight
down.
shot, baby.
What a rough drive that would
Yeah.
be. In a Model T car, 100
Take,
years ago.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's
Going to
nuts.
Miami. Take us
Wow.
2 weeks to get there, going 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, I have not explored Florida very much. We haven't played there very much, and a few times, but yeah, just it's hard to get to.
It's hard to get
it's very
to.
far.
Florida, when you get the concept out of the people and the vibe there, as far as scenery goes, it's stunning.
Yeah.
It's it's tropical. It's a tropical place in
Yeah.
America. Weird. You feel like you're in a different country when you're there.
Sure.
It has its own 80% of the people there are just extremely. They're retired. They're older
Yeah,
people. It's
sure.
just a different vibe.
Bad drivers.
Yes, but if you could take away that and you go into the Everglades, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I would love to
You're in
go there.
America looking at alligators and snakes and the most wild birds you've ever seen. Birds
Yeah.
everywhere because they come from the north. If you go in the winter, it's super cool. There's birds everywhere from all over America there.
Dang.
And the birds that are native there. There's just birds everywhere. You almost hit them when I'm driving. I almost hit massive birds the size of you or I, just these
no.
blue herons just flapping around. You're almost
Holy
hitting
shit.
them.
It's scary.
It's fun.
That's great.
It's fun. I love
Wow.
driving so much around the country.
Me too. That's honestly the main thing not the main thing, Jesus. That's one of the big things that I've really missed about touring is because in the past, I've done a lot of the driving, not because the guys weren't up to it or willing. I just kind of the car we have always traveled in is my old family car. And it's in my dad's name. I don't know. I just feel kind of responsible for it.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I also just love driving and not looking at my phone and just focusing on the moment, But yeah, I don't know if you'll hit it when you go out to Utah, but there's a stretch of Interstate 70 that follow it snakes along with the Colorado River. That is honestly probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life. I felt so lucky to be there, and it was this is just a public road, just everyone's getting where they need to go. But it felt that's the true essence of when the journey is just as important and beautiful as the place you're going.
Mm-hmm.
That was stunning.
Road trips are so much fun.
I love it.
I mean, that's what a tour is. It's
Yeah.
a road trip playing. You're with your friends,
Yeah.
eating trail mix, just suffering together,
Yep.
tired, cramped up
Yeah, you just don't have as much time to do
things.
spontaneous things. Yeah, but at the same time, there's enough room in your day to have little unexpected moments. So I actually really enjoy a tour for that reason, having the room for spontaneous, things to happen to you, but also having the regimented routine of playing a show every night and knowing where you're going and things like that is, for the planning part of my brain, extremely satisfying.
Yeah.
So,
Do you find yourself on tour just staying with friends you've met?
usually, yeah, in the past. That's something we've wondered if COVID's going to change all that because I I mean, hopefully it won't. Like, we've hosted bands a lot at the house where we live now, and it's always such a fun part of tour is getting to see friends and stay with friends. Hopefully with COVID, it'll be the kind of thing where, you know, everyone's vaccinated, and so we can just keep doing that. But it is kind of something to think about. It's like, oh, wow, we've always had, like, a lot of people from different places, like, staying with us a lot. So I just hadn't really thought about, like...
I miss that.
I miss it, too. And it's not something to be feared at the end of the day. Like, you know, our immune systems, like, we can, like, survive, you know? Like, if... Now that we have this, you know, vaccine, like... I am not afraid of, like, having bands stay with us again.
I'm not either.
Exactly. And so my feeling is if I'm not, then hopefully our friends won't be, and we can keep staying with friends on the road.
It's something I miss dearly.
Yeah,
having
same.
bands, a lot of bands stayed here.
Yeah.
A lot. And I miss just having them stay, and you get to know people, meet people from different parts of the country, and just the stories, the late nights, people I'd never met before hanging out, and I don't know, giving them a place to shower, do some laundry, place to sleep. A lot of, especially when they're like really on the come up and they're literally just sleeping like a dingy van every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, have the couch, here's some pillows and blankets, take a shower, do some laundry.
Yeah.
Let's go I'll show you some local food, make you coffee. I don't know. Little things like that. It's just fun, not an experience a lot of people get.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely. It's, yeah. I
You make
wouldn't
lifelong
have it any other way.
friends that way too.
Totally.
You know?
Absolutely. And honestly, it gives, like, from the touring end, like, from that perspective, it gives us something to look forward to when we, like, play a city again, is hopefully getting to stay with our friends again. Like, that's, like, some sort of consistency that you can, like, look forward to in the context of tour, where everything feels kind of, like, new every day, because you're just in a new place every day. But
what's been your favorite tour besides, like, going to Japan?
It's hard to say. I've gotten really spoiled. Like, the last few tours that we did before COVID were really, really good. Like, the pup tour was really great. They were just, like, extremely welcoming, and they're small but mighty crew. Like, they have 3 people that they bring with them on the road, Pup does, and they were all, like, the coolest people ever. And so even getting to just, like, see how they operate and, like, learn from them, and yeah, they were very generous with, like, their time and just hanging.
And that was just America, Europe?
It was U.S. and just the U.S. We didn't play Canada. But it was 2 different legs. So, like, the East Coast was, like, a month, and then the West Coast was a month, and they were separated by a month. So they almost felt like 2 different tours, honestly. But the East Coast one was really great. One underrated or, like, under-talked about, definitely not underrated, but just under-talked about part of tour is, like, sometimes you, like, follow the weather almost.
Yeah.
So, like, every fucking day it rained on that tour, like, every day. And part of that was a coincidence. But sometimes when you're going east, like, you literally just follow a weather pattern.
Yeah.
And so, like, God, we were, like, in the same rainstorm for, like a week. It was crazy. And, like, but that was just part of the fun, too. Like, it just created, like, insane situations where, like, we were just all stuck in monsoons together and, like, in floods. And you just, like, really get to know each other when you're, like...
Suffering together.
Dealing with that,
That humor again we were talking about earlier, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just in general, those shows were so sick. And, like, their fans are really nice. And, yeah, we've never really done, like, a big headline tour. Like, obviously, D.I.Y. touring, you're, like, technically kind of headlining, but you're not, like, selling tickets in advance, you know?
Yeah.
So that was going to be 2020 for us, was, like, going to be our first, like, time trying to, like, do our own tour. So we still haven't done that.
2022?
So, yeah, hopefully. I think, well, we're going to do something this fall, but it's going to be, like, a co-headline thing, so it'll be with, like, another band. So it won't all be on us to, like, sell the tickets, but, yeah, hopefully next year, maybe in the spring, we'll try to do, like, the tour that we were planning in 2020.
I could see it.
We'll see. I hope it works out. I mean, like, there's just a lot of, it's been really cool to, like, support bigger bands because you learn what goes into a headline tour, like, what you have to think about, like, everything is your decision at the end of the day for, like, how you want these shows to go. From, like, the house music to, like, you have a lot of control, actually, at these venues of, like, you can decide if it's all ages. Like, you book the shows thinking about those things and like down to how you treat the bands that you're bringing on tour with you. Like those are very important things. And so getting to see other bands do that well has been like a huge learning experience for us. And it's something that we hope to like, if we have the opportunity to headline a tour, we would be able to do something, you know, of as good as a job as they did just because we were like learning from them. But yeah, favorite tour. Yeah, that pub tour was probably my fave. I mean, and honestly, we got to like tour in Europe with Wild Pink, and they're like some of our closest friends. And that tour was very much like nothing went wrong, which is kind of crazy. Like it was just kind of
How many
extremely
cities in Europe?
25, I think.
Wow.
It was a lot. We like every time the 2 times that we've gone over there, we try to play like every day if we can because like any day you're not playing, you're kind of just losing money on like the rental. And
Are you renting gear?
yeah, you have to like rent all of the amps and like the drum kit, and you rent a van to get around. And like obviously you have to pay to fly over there. So there's just like a ton of upfront costs. So making money over there is like kind of impossible. Our goal was like to break even, which I think we did. But yeah, like so
The exposure though.
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah, that's like part of it too. Is just if you can get over there and not lose a ton of money and like meet people and like gain fans, then that's kind of why you're there. But yeah, that tour was kind of a dream. We just like ended up in all these crazy, amazing places, and it felt very like we were just like, how did we
Yeah.
how did we get here? Like it was so cool. But not all tours are like that. You know? So when they happen, it's like you pinch yourself because you know. I've been on some bad tours, so I don't want to make it seem like I like you know.
I mean, you do them enough, you're gonna have some rough ones.
Yeah,
especially
totally.
at the beginning. Like
Oh yeah, that was the
different
hard
type
part.
of van, different type of gear. You don't know all these things, like what you were saying. The other band, how they've been like showing you the ropes and explaining. You don't know that in 2014, 15, 16. You know.
Yeah, you just show up and you know, no one knows who you are, and so people leave, and it's hard. But at the end of the day, like. Getting to play music is kind of like that feeling that you're chasing every day. So just keep doing it. But yeah, like I tell Sean that sometimes because I like he wasn't in the band when we were going through like some really really hard times on the road, and I always I like try to remind him. I'm like, dude, like things have not always been like good and easy or just like I don't know. It definitely there were some trials and tribulations that. You know, it's not like you're sharing those things on social media.
No,
so
that's what's really funny about social media.
It's what's kind of toxic about it is like you're presenting an image of yourself to the world. Obviously, you're not going to like complain about your daily life on there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot. You have to. I try to be very conscious of that when I look at other people's social media, just realizing like this is part of their life, but it's not the whole story. So
no, it's we sculpt.
Yes.
A pretty picture of our lives when really we're all real. I try to be as honest as I can, but I'm showing the fun stuff too, you know.
Yeah,
of course.
Same.
Yeah, I can't imagine touring that. Like doing just road trips, and you throw in the gear and the timing, and you have to perform, and at the beginning no one knows you. You did all that work, you finally made it out to 1,000 miles away, and there's 7 people in the crowd. You know, I'm sure it's different now. You probably have more. What's been like one of the more larger crowds you've performed in front of, besides like music festivals? Like at an actual just venue inside.
Yeah, I mean, opening for bigger bands, that's like one of the benefits of doing that is you get to play to like their crowd. So like the pub show in New York City, I think there were like 1,500 people there or something, which is
so
insane.
Cool.
I mean, the room wasn't filled when we went on, you know, but still, like it was sold out. Like,
it'd be like the Riviera.
Pretty much, yeah. It was a place
Vic.
called Brooklyn Steel. I've actually never been to the Vic. I've been to the Riv once. I need to go to those places more. I saw like Guster at the Riviera.
They're really great, like mid-level venue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it felt really fucking big to me, to be honest. The Riv did when I was there in the audience. But as far as like us headlining though, honestly, that Lincoln Hall, like that show might have been the biggest one.
That was sold out.
It was, which is so sick. It's like 500 people or something. And for us to be able to sell tickets, like headlining and sell that many tickets was a massive, like in our eyes, it was a big success just because we've never really tried to do that before. So, And for GN, the release show, we did Shubas, and then so for Printer's Devil, doing Lincoln Hall, it felt like a very, like, nice, satisfying progression there. But yeah, we'll see. It's kind of a terrifying prospect, like trying to sell tickets to these shows, but especially in today's world. But you know, do our best, and hopefully people want to come hang. And yeah, it's fun to just try because you're not going to grow if you don't try. So
you never know if you don't try. It's such a
Totally.
simple statement, but it's very true. And putting yourself through the ringer, those tours, the trial and errors, the hard times that no one knows about, you know, the flat tire on the road, the rainstorms, like that's why you're here. You know, that's what got you to here. It's what has 3 full-length records, you know, a 4th one if you count Happy Birthday, Ratboy, and you know, 7 years of touring, another record you're working on, opening up for so many cool acts, those big music festivals you're playing, like that's no joke.
No, yeah, I'm stoked. I've never been to Riot Fest. Have you been?
I went twice, like 2013, 14.
Nice.
I went.
Who'd you see?
I saw Iggy Pop,
Nice.
Gogo Bordello, White Mystery. I'm trying to remember. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
It was free tickets, and I don't know.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, same thing with like Pitchfork. I don't know. I've always gone like for free, and just kind of went on a whim. Pitchfork though, I went in like 2014. I saw the Tune Yards and St. Vincent. I want to say Tame Impala. I can't remember. Back, yeah, something like that. In 2009, I went and saw Built to Spill. They're one of my favorite bands. Yeah, I haven't been to music festivals like that big in a while. I always try to go to like smaller stuff. And Lollapalooza, like 2007 and 8, I went. 2007, I'm very proud because I was very lucky to see Daft Punk play.
Oh, nice.
And like in front row center, like
cool.
at 17 years old, and it sucks because they like broke up, and not a lot of people ever got to see them. They never played, so that was a really wild experience.
Awesome.
Very formative experience to see them play live. Yeah, I don't know. I really like DZ Fest and festivals around that size are a really fun place to be. But Riot Fest, it's cool. I like the concept. I like where did they move it?
It's in Douglas Park.
Is it still in Douglas Park?
I think that's where it's been. I know didn't it used to be in Humboldt Park?
I think it was in Humboldt. I went back to Douglas.
Yeah, they changed the name of Douglas Park. They added another S to make it Frederick Douglas now, instead of like there's some other guy named Douglas. Some
I didn't know that.
Some white guy, some old white guy, and they changed it. So
okay,
it's a good thing. But yeah, so maybe that's why it looks different or something. But
what day are you playing?
Sunday.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, please.
I have
Dude,
to.
it's going to be really fun. I'm hoping that, like, there's so many bands in that lineup that I really want to see. I'm hoping at least a couple of them are, like, on the same day as us. 'Cause if all goes according to plan, we're actually going to be, like, coming in from a tour, like, hauling ass from the East Coast. So we won't be able to go to any of the other days or anything.
And then you head back out, right, to Idaho?
We go to St. Louis the next day, and then to Idaho for Treefort. So, yeah,
That's a cool lineup.
Dude, Treefort, if you ever have a chance to go there or play that festival, it is so, so cool. Like, they do a really good job, too, like, with hospitality. We've only played it once, so I assume this is how it always is. But the time that we were there, like, it was, like, really special. Like, you show up, and, I don't know if this is what they do every year, but the year that we were there, like, they had all these school children, like, make little, like, goodie bags for all the bands and, like, write a little note, like, welcoming you to Boise or whatever. And it was so cute. Like, we got this goodie bag that had just, like, a drawing of, like, a weird rat on it. It was clearly done by, like, a 6-year-old, and it was just, like, Ratboys.
That's cool.
We were so stoked. But, yeah, and it's kind of like South by or, like, the Fest or something where, like, all the venues are right next to each other, so you can just, like, walk around town and, like,
so it's
see
not like
shows.
it's not like stages outside. It's
There's a couple. There was one big stage, like, in a street, but then in my memory, it was, like, mostly venues.
Okay.
So you're kind of just like, but you have a pass, so you can just, like, get in anywhere.
Okay. So I never been to South by Southwest, so it's similar to that?
Yeah, it's pretty similar without all of, like, the corporations and, you know, like, red tape, but
That's what South by Southwest has a lot of.
Yeah, in my experience. I mean, I don't know. The thing about South by is, like, and I really like it, and a lot of bands don't, but, like, there's a whole DIY, like, undercard of, like, shows happening that aren't affiliated with the festival at all. Bands still just come to Austin that week because like there's a music festival happening. So like you can go see amazing free shows at South by. Like you don't have to pay.
You kind of get to hide underneath the chaos of that, so you can get away with more.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's how I've experienced it. And like, I mean, it sucks because bands aren't getting paid. It's kind of like what you said. It's like the exposure. Like you're just there to like make friends and like play and see bands, which not everyone can do because it like is a privilege to be able to go a few days without like making an income on the road. But you sell merch and like, I don't know. Like I've had some really good like memories there that are not affiliated with like the official festival. It's more just like there's shows happening under the radar.
Under the radar.
Yeah, it's so sick.
That's cool.
Yeah, miss it.
It'll come back. And I really think you guys can definitely blow off a headline with how many times you've toured and all those bands you've played with.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we'll just keep doing it till it works, I guess. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. What time is it? I have no idea how long we've been talking for.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
It's 4. We're going about 2 hours.
Nice.
We can wrap it up at any point you want. We can talk if you want to share anything else.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know. I'm, like I said,
You're fried.
open book. No, I'm chilling. I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear that DZ Fest is coming back.
Yeah, that
This
was
fall.
a weird one.
What was the process like for you, like deciding to do it in the fall?
Well, I was weighing against like the vaccine situation,
Yeah.
the climate of how everyone feels about going out and stuff. So I knew like I think July's too soon. It's always in July.
Right.
So I was like, we could try in September. And once I was thinking that maybe back in February, and everyone was kind of iffy about it that I shared that information with. But then once the vaccine started going up and it was the second I saw Riot Fest was going on. I was like, well, I'm the weekend after that, and that's Chicago. So there we go. I can try it.
Nice.
And so that's when I decided to do it and kind of announced that. And it's going to be weird doing it in September. I've never done that. But the weather will be in our favor as far as heat and more night slots because the sun sets earlier then. So that's kind of cool. It's the same weekend as the Tree Fort one.
Oh, cool.
Well, I think that's like 4 days, right? The 20...
Yeah.
5 days or something?
5th, 6th, something like that.
Yeah, that's 25th and 6th here. But still 40 bands, 2 stages, 40 artists presenting artwork.
What was it like? I saw like you posted in the Facebook group. Like, did you get a lot of bands that hit you up? Dude, that's sick.
I have a lot that were going to play from last year.
Cool.
Unfortunately, there was like 17 touring bands playing, like 9 international ones, but none of those can play now. The international ones can't play, sadly, because there were some from Korea, Japan, Europe, Canada, and like now they can't, which sucks. Because that was like such a cool moment for me to be like, oh, a band from Tokyo is going to play. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm sure that would be such a surreal experience for them. Like,
Yeah.
I can only imagine going to Japan or somewhere else and stumbling into this amazing, like, DIY festival that's been happening for 10 years or whatever and be like, oh my God, like, this is paradise.
Like, you're like, wait, we're in Chicagoland area. Like, wait, this is a backyard? When I say backyard, people think small.
Right.
And, like, it's an acre of land, but, like, it's big.
It's big.
It's big in a small yard. It's interesting. It's hard to explain. You have to experience it.
Yeah.
But that's been cool. Maybe get more Midwest bands. It's probably going to be hard to get farther bands. It's hard to say. A lot of bands are having a hard time from far away fully committing.
Yeah.
But just a lot of different bands, new bands. I think there's only one band playing that has played before. It's 30,
cool.
so 39 new acts. And that's been I'm trying to get more and more new, different styles, up-and-coming people, different artists. Just different artwork on the stages, like redoing everything because I have so much artwork that I'm just spreading it across the yard and putting artwork everywhere from a decade of doing this.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer. Like this would be the 10th year, but because
Yeah.
last year didn't happen, so now it's like the 9th. It's a weird one. I had a big idea, and I've been contemplating for a while, 3 days, and I don't know. I'm like the only one that for some reason seems to be okay with that, even though it's a big leap, but I'm thinking like if you do 3 days, 50 bands, we start later, 4 to 10 instead of earlier, because it's just not enough people come out at noon.
Sure.
But if we do 4, everyone who's there or volunteering gets to sleep in, have the day,
Sure.
Relax, decompress, and people have more time to come after work. So that's a thought. But this year it's going to be more. I won't say too much, but very, very official and a concept of potentially having it be a non-for-profit and a scholarship for
right.
for
Oh, yeah, for the school.
yeah, for now it's going to be it's still through Chicago Public Schools, but a concept of a different branch. It's not fully official yet, so I'm not going to say much about it,
Sure.
just probably for legal reasons. But good things, good things. I figure
Awesome.
I've gotten to the point where it's like I have a hard time because I've never made money off it. It's like I don't want to make money off it, so maybe we can take all the things artists and musicians have done and take and give it to somebody, like that money to someone who comes from a bad place that would never have that avenue unless they
Right.
were given a scholarship to go to college for music or art. You know, it's like,
That sounds very worthwhile.
yeah, that's the idea. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and I hope it works. And
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this for like 5 years. It just wasn't there yet. It needed to get to a certain point where people thought and like knew it was legit and serious and had substance behind it. So it's there now, I think.
Totally.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
It's so cool to see it grow over the years, too.
Yeah, it's crazy. I the biggest decision was the 2 days, like 2 days, 2 stages. That was
Yeah.
because you were there in 2013 when it was just one stage, like 12 bands.
But then the next year, I think, was the first year that you guys did the 2 stages. And I will never forget, like, I don't know if we had just finished playing or if we were setting up, but we were on one stage, Oshwa was on another, and they were like, it was 4th of July.
Yeah.
And there were like fireworks going off behind them.
Yeah.
Maybe I was in the crowd. I don't know. I was watching Oshwa and there were like fireworks going off. And it was like the most beautiful, perfect day ever. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, it was so picturesque and like just like chill and like.
I remember that very well.
Yeah, that's like a very vivid memory and like, good times.
It was a good time. The fire, I do remember because kind of like we said with South by Southwest, there's DIY shows going underneath it to kind of have it masked so they can get away with it. I always did it around 4th of July so I can get away with it. So when I did
smart.
2 stages, I was like, let's just do it on the 4th of July. I was lucky that was a Saturday. So it was like just serendipitous, really.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, I could just keep doing this. And yeah, I have a good understanding with the neighbors. And
Nice.
I don't know. Just, I was like, it can go one way, fizzle out, corporate, or let's do something that like most people won't do. Let's donate the money and have it still be like a DIY
Right.
from scratch music festival in a backyard.
Love it.
Yeah,
Dude.
it's fun.
Kudos.
Thank you.
It's so sick. And yeah, I feel like there's still so many people out there who like don't know about it.
Yeah,
So, there's only like growth to come
Yeah,
as well. It's so
yeah.
sick.
it's very under the radar.
It's kind of a good thing though. You don't
Yeah.
want it to blow up too much because then like, I don't know.
It wouldn't be able to stay here.
Yeah, it couldn't work.
No.
So
It's a weird
you're in
middle
that
ground.
sweet spot. Yeah. That's sick.
It's interesting.
What's going on in the DZ?
The DZ is sad and decrepit,
Oh,
and it's an
darn.
old memory of. But you know,
You still got the Arizona cans
I
in there?
do. I
Dude,
do.
sick.
That's so funny. You remember that? Yeah.
Walls and walls.
Walls and walls. 5 rooms. It just it manifested into DZ Records, to
Right.
shows, to a podcast, to a music fest, to bands, to this house. So when my friends are like, because I'm going to take it down this year, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Dang, yeah.
because it's falling apart so bad.
Fair enough.
And a lot of people are like sad. I'm like, it's not gone. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah,
There's artwork everywhere representing what it was.
It's bigger than like, a structure, like
Yeah.
a falling down,
It's it's a
fort.
metaphor for doing what you love,
Totally.
creation, camaraderie, love. Yeah,
That's awesome.
And you've been a part of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us in to the world of DZ. Because honestly, yeah, like I said, it's just been a huge, like, shaping influence on how I like view music and community. So really means a lot to me. And yeah, the space that you've built here is something special. And it's hopefully something that people will continue to be introduced to little by little without blowing up your spot. But like, that basement, it's like such a special place to see a show and play a show. So
Yeah,
I mean, it's all there for people. They can find it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Online, you got so many fucking videos. Like,
yeah.
it's
It's too many.
it's there. Like, I'm just proud to know you. It's really really awesome.
Thank you, and thank you for coming here. And just
Oh yeah,
I appreciate it. I appreciate your kind words and compliments, and it's inspirational to see bands I've worked with just keep going and going. And I love that when I have to email. I mean, I'm close enough to it. I don't have to do you, but like it's an agency or it's a company.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, it's not just like ratboys@gmail.com or something like that. I mean, I'm sure they exist, but you know what I mean.
It does.
It's just cool that like there's more to it. It's its own thing. You've grown in your own way. It's so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That's been a huge been a big goal of mine throughout the years, is to be able to like kind of build like quote unquote a team. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like have partners that like you respect and vice versa, and you can like grow with. It helps you. And at first, I didn't really know what that meant, or like I was a little suspicious of that. But now it's like, no, like there are people out there who care about you and like want you to succeed. So
Yeah.
it's good to find those people and then lift each other up.
When did you first realize that?
Kind of in 2017, we was like when we started working with the booking agent, and that was that like blew my mind that anyone would want to like invest their time in our band like that. Was a huge like confidence booster, and it made me realize like, oh, like that's like right when we like formed an LLC, you know, things like that. It was like, oh, like we like try to do this as a job
Yeah.
if we want. Like if we want to put in the time, it's not going to be easy, but we could try. And
Yeah.
that kind of opened my mind to that possibility. Before that, had never thought.
Was it a weird leap coming from that hardcore DIY mentality?
A little bit. We like, not to get too far into it, but like we had already booked to play the fest in Gainesville with a band from Italy, like a band that we had met through DIY, and we were planning to make it like a DIY tour down. But we started working with this booking agent, and they wanted to like book us shows in venues, and so it was kind of a weird like gray area where we like weren't used. That was like our first experience playing shows in places like that were booked by someone else, and so that took some getting used to. But I mean, it was also kind of a great way to do that for the first time, like with our DIY friends who were like in the country, and I don't know, we were just like figuring shit out together. So we were among friends, which was made it better, but a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, it's a learning curve when you come from like the ground up.
Yeah,
It's a weird switch to go to that more serious professional business, even borderline corporate. You know, not at the highest level, but there's things about it. But you have to make that leap if you want to make it a career, a job. You know, and you could still find ways to be, you know, that
hands-on,
homegrown, authentic, hands-on. But
you don't have to like sacrifice who you are.
No.
But there's definitely things that just change.
You realize it's just
day-to-day.
a philosophical thought. It's all in your it's all in your head, you know.
Yeah, we're all just floating around somewhere. We're fine. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing our best, and I don't know. It'll be cool to just continue to see what happens and grow if we can, and watch friends do the same, and
Lift each other up.
Indeed, yeah, that's the goal, honestly, at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we want to do, so.
Well, Julia, thank you for coming here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Yeah.
the opportunity to hang.
It's been a pleasure. I learned so much about you.
Yeah, we could talk more about the grid
Yeah.
later, now that we know.
The grid. I love when you said that, I was like, yes. Finally, not a lot of people care. It was so nice to see you again. I'm happy you're doing well.
Same to you.
We're out of this weird gray, thick cloud of 14 months of chaos, and happy for you. These tours that you have coming up in the fall, the Europe ones next winter and spring, and those big festivals. It's really cool.
Thanks.
I'm gonna keep spreading the word, keep putting your records on. And
thank you so much.
Of course.
It really means a lot. I can't wait to come back here next time, hopefully for a show.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Awesome. I'll let you know. I'll let the world know when we start doing shows in the house again.
Yep.
That might be maybe late fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No rush. Not trying to pressure, but when the time comes, I will be there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming here. And do you want to plug anything before we go?
Plug. Well, I mean, we just put out this new record, Happy Birthday Ratboy. It's on our Bandcamp and such. Actually, we just did like a 10-year anniversary show, which was kind of like almost like a movie, like a little mini doc. Had never tried anything like that. It was pretty fun to do, but I'm pretty sure that's going to live on Bandcamp soon.
Cool.
They're like, we streamed it there, and they're working on a way to like host it there permanently. So not just us, like for every band that's ever streamed on Bandcamp. So hopefully by the time this airs, I don't know when this will air, but like soon enough, it'll be up on Bandcamp to watch as well. So
That's awesome.
Proud of that. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, people can find Ratboys everywhere.
Hopefully.
You're on all.
It's all one word. There's another Ratboy out there in England, but he's 2 words. And he who shall not be named. He's around. Maybe we'll meet him someday.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate our friendship.
You too.
Take care.